Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him, it's a sack!
Sixers.
Oh, baby!
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program? Yeah.
97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
Now, live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
Casino Resort in Atlantic City. The Sports Bash is live with a 9-game winning streak for the Phillies in walk-off fashion yesterday. What an ending to the game to win their 9th straight game. Good to be back, everybody. The Sports Bash was in good hands while I was gone. Thanks to Nick and Pete and Josh for filling in for me while we were at the World Series. We are back, and boy, while I was gone, I guess everybody was saying, don't come back, right? The Phillies just kept on winning without me here. So I was going to take the day off again today, Josh, so that you guys could keep it going. But unfortunately, I actually am running out of vacation days, so I had to get back here. But the Phillies a winner. And, boy, what a game yesterday. It's 4-0 in the 9th. We and my buddy are out yesterday. I got back Saturday night from the World Series, kind of late, about 10 o'clock Saturday night. Yesterday, my buddy, I said, hey, what are you up to today? So we ended up going out for a little bit to watch the game. 4-0 in the 9th inning, and he says, this game is over. Do you want to get out of here? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, And then all of a sudden, we get a situation where they get 2 on, and they end up getting the 2 runs. It's 4-2, and the next thing you know, here we go. How many times? 3 times yesterday they came down to their final strike in the game. 2 strikes in the game, multiple times. Brian De La Cruz, Edmundo Sosa, and they get the job done. And then, of course, the 2-run bomb from Schwarber to put them up by 2 runs for the final score. But I don't know what ended up happening, but this is what I remember. When I left, I had said, pretty profoundly, by the way, that if the Phillies were going to hit Alec Bohm in the 8-hole, they might as well just move him out of the lineup, move Harper to first base, play De La Cruz and Hill in right field, be a better defensive team. Well, Bohm just shoved it right in my keister, right, and said, I'm going to go 5 for 5, 2 for 4 with a home run. The guy just has been blistering hot since I basically said sit him and move on. You've had guys just coming out of right field helping this team out. How about before I left, you had Wheeler and Sanchez and Luzardo. Well, now that I'm gone, you asked me about Nola the other day. Now you got Andrew Painter and Nola leading the pitching staff, and Sanchez and Wheeler kind of slowing down a little bit here. Sanchez yesterday was okay. He wasn't great, but Andrew Painter on Saturday was every bit of the number 1 guy that you thought he was going to be. Fastball, 99 miles an hour in his 100th pitch, movement all over the place. That's the guy that I thought you were going to get all season long when I had said, hey, you're going to be talking about a guy who's a difference-making pitcher, not this guy that you got that was 1-8 and got demoted back to AAA and that I didn't even want to see come back up. But, man, how things have changed in the last 10 days. Well, so I asked you guys as I was gone, and the Phillies started to play better baseball over these last 9 days. You take a look at the standings all of a sudden. When I left, I think they were 9.5 back in the standings in the National League East.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, here is this team that has made the National League East relevant again. They got a 3-game spread between them and the Braves. When I left, they were tied for the last wild card. In fact, I think when I left, they were out of the playoffs. And now they are 2 games up on the Diamondbacks for the final spot in the wild card. So they are in the wild card chase. They're in the wild card spot, and they're only 3 back. This is a division race again. And if I'm the Phillies, I am squarely focusing in on that. But there's so many things. Hit me up on the text board, 609-403-0973. Have you bought back into this team? Have they pulled you back after this 9-game win streak?
Well, to your point about the way they've been playing, we played the audio last week while you were gone, Mike, but I think one of the biggest credits what's been happening is what Alec Boehm said to McCarthy and Kruk after one of the games last week, where he said that Boehm basically feels like his turnaround is directly attributed to Luis Arias, because Boehm says
everybody's, by the way, turnaround. Somebody messaged me on Twitter and said, what took so long for the approaches to change? When you watch this team, the one thing that you're seeing is the approaches of this team has obviously changed. And I don't know if it's arriving, or what made them all of a sudden start to take pitches and work counts and see stuff. But Luis Arias' impact on this team could be twofold. His own at-bats helping the team out, and then what it rubbed off on everybody else.
Right, that's what Boehm said. Boehm said that he's learned more from basically, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, he's learned more from Luis Arias than he's ever learned his entire baseball career. He basically, Boehm made it sound like it's like a life-changing experience for him, watching Luis Arias take at-bats. It just kind of makes you wonder, Mike, like not just what took them so long, but what took them so long to add a guy like Luis Arias to this team.
Well, there's not a lot of them. So what took them so long? It had to be the right opportunity to get the one guy in baseball that still has that kind of mentality, that he'll work counts, work pitches, and put the ball in play. But it is obviously rubbed off on everybody. But I think there's a lot of things here that we could take a look at as before I left and after I returned. Before I left, this was a team that was struggling at the plate, couldn't score runs, had depth in the starting rotation issues, has the depth in the rotation. Does everybody feel good about Painter and Nola all of a sudden? I don't know. You let me know. 609-403-0973. I can tell you this. I watched yesterday's game. Saturday night, I watched the game. We were driving home from Jamestown on Saturday, and I basically watched the entire game in my car. I was in the passenger seat. We had YouTube TV on, so I did see that whole game. But I would say in the previous 10 days, a lot of people out there probably got the chance to see a lot more Phillies baseball than I did while we were away. And I kept watching, obviously, and looking at highlights and paying attention to what was going on. But what stands out about this team that I watched the last 2 days is the approach at the plate looks a lot different. What I saw from Painter on Saturday was a completely different guy than the guy I've watched all season long. And obviously, in the game on Saturday, you get Painter just coming out throwing like an ace of a staff. If you get that guy, and it goes back to the discussion that we had before I left, is what if Painter pitches well from now to the end of the year? Is he a viable candidate to help the bullpen out? Because I think you got to start looking at that again.
100%. Because, again, you're going into the postseason. You know who your big three are. No one's debating that. It's what does this bullpen look like? And even during this winning streak, Mike, there have been games where that bullpen, it's making you nervous. It's making you sweat. Like the one game when Brandon Marsh caught that ball in foul territory, scaling the left field fence into the stands, and the look on Jonathan Bolin, the camera pans to Bolin's face, Mike. I think it was Wednesday. And Bolin has a look of just like complete relief, like, thank God he caught that ball, And so it's like, to me, I look at Painter as, please keep doing this, because now when you go into the postseason, don't you feel a lot better, Mike, if that Painter is coming out of the bullpen in certain situations than Tim Meza and Ryan Kerkering?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I talked about this before. If you can get Andrew Painter back to where you thought you were going to have Andrew Painter before the season started, and maybe my expectations were too high, but those were the expectations that the Phillies kind of put on him, was that he was an untouchable trade piece that was going to be a top-of-the-rotation pitcher. Well, you already had Wheeler and Sanchez and Luzardo, so you're thinking, where is this guy going to fit in a playoff rotation? Maybe he does as the fourth guy, but I don't see Nola giving up that fourth spot. So where does Painter fit in? And I kept saying, do they use him in the bullpen? Well, the guy that we saw the other day, could he be the guy that pitches in the 7th or 8th inning of a big game?
100%.
Is he the guy that comes in the big moment and shuts down a team top of the lineup, much like Glasnow did against you last year, much like Snell did against you last year, much like Sasaki did against you last year. So the transformation in the last 2 starts. Now, Painter threw another game while I was gone. He gave up 4 runs in the first inning and gave up a grand slam, but he dominated after that.
Right. He settled down. And I think that might be the best thing to happen to him because, Painter said after the game, like once I kind of refocused, I was kind of able to get back to feeling my pitches again. I mean, that's a young man, Mike, that's learning on the job a little bit, but he's getting the right lessons and he's applying them.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is interesting because now the Phillies have to go out and tonight, after playing at home against St. Louis, have to go out to Seattle and get no day off. They didn't do them any favors with the schedule.
Nope.
So they played at home yesterday against the Cardinals in that come-from-behind game. By the way, Alex McFarland, his 3rd win, he has been a big help to this team. We got to talk about him because how are people feeling about McFarland as a bullpen arm in the playoffs? I think that's something that we got to throw out to the table as well. But you don't get a break. Usually you travel from the East Coast to the West Coast, you get a day off. Instead, they're playing tonight, Tuesday, Wednesday in Seattle. So some late night games tonight and Tuesday, Wednesday. It's a day game. And by the way, for the day game, 4:10, we're going to be at Ventnor Social on Wednesday. So come out and watch the Phillies with us on Wednesday. 4:10 start against Seattle. Then they're off on Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they got some Josh Henning times. Did you see the start times for these games?
I did. These are ridiculous.
9:38, 10:07, and 4:07.
Why 9:38? It's a weird time, even for me.
I don't know, but that is Painter and Reed Detmers. Your boy Steven Ventnor. That's the Steven Ventnor matchup that he's been dreaming
His dream
of.
matchup.
Reed Detmers pitching against Andrew Painter on Friday. But so now you're out in the West Coast, Seattle, Angels, Arizona, and then a 4-game set against the Braves. Where will they be when they get to that 4-game set? I think that will be the storyline of the season.
Also,
that will be the storyline of the season.
But also, just really quick, Mike, the storyline as well is not just when you get to the Braves, who are the Braves when they get there? Because the Braves' upcoming games, Mike, they got a 3-game series coming up, the Braves do, starting Tuesday, with the Dodgers.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. When I left, I would have said there was no shot that they have a chance to get back into the East race. And here we are, 3 games out on August 24th. I'm pretty shocked and stunned that we are where we are right now with this Phillies team. Now, there's so much. Okay, think about the stuff that happened in this game the other day. Kyle Schwarber, walk-off 2-run home run, okay? 5th career walk-off home run for Schwarber. 459-foot home run. It's the longest walk-off homer by a Phillies player since 2006. Of course, Ryan Howard was that guy.
Yep.
It's the first walk-off home run since Schwarber also did one against the Dodgers. That's 553 games without a walk-off home run. It was the longest drought in Major League Baseball. What you watched yesterday ended the longest drought in Major League Baseball. They're down 4-0 in the 9th. It's their 7th win when trailing by 4 or more runs at any point of a game this season. So here's a team that shows you they can keep coming back. For all the negative things that we always think about this team, they've done that more than any team in baseball. Teams this year, you ready for this number? 1 win, 762 losses when trailing by 4 runs in the 9th inning. The only other win came when the Padres came back from 4 down to beat the Mariners back in April. It happened 1 time all year, and then it happened yesterday. It's the 9th straight win for the Phillies. It's their longest win streak over the last 15 years, and they'll go for their 10th straight. They did that in 2010 when they won 11 in a row. Speaking of streaks, Bryce Harper extended his on-base streak. That's up to 26 games.
Yep.
And the Cardinals blew the largest lead in the bottom of the 9th in a game since 2021. So that all happened in yesterday's game for the Phillies to get to their 9th straight win. It was a wild, wild game, and it was a dead game. You know, they played with no life, and you were thinking about it yesterday. Okay, Arise isn't playing. I know Bohm is not everybody's favorite player, But Bohm has been white hot right now recently, and he was out of the lineup yesterday. Then Stott takes one off the foot, and he has to leave the game, and Arise has to go into the game.
Yep.
So you had that. You had so many different things in the game yesterday, and yet they still find a way. Now, in the game on Saturday, they win that game 12-3. Bohm was 2 for 4 in that game. I mean, Alec Bohm, all of a sudden, you can make a strong argument. Do you realize, by the way, everybody out there, that Bohm leads the team in RBI?
Yes, he does.
He's got 75 RBI. When they said that the other day, I almost fell over, that he leads the team in RBI, he's almost up to 250 now. Like, he was hitting 222 when I left.
Mike, he has been hitting over 320 for the month of August.
I looked at the numbers. I said, Bohm was almost hitting 250. Literally, he was hitting 222, I believe. When I left, I think he was hitting 222.
He's been on fire. And
He's been on fire.
I think that it's good to see that also the rest of the team is stepping up, because you look at that 4 through 7 in the batting lineup now between Arias and Bohm and Stott. And then every once in a while you throw in whoever's after that. But those guys are doing a great job at extending at bats, taking pitches, working the other team. And it's turning into a thing now, Mike, where there were a couple moments where teams are like, well, we just walked Harper to get him on base. And here comes that Luis Arias. And then he gets on base. Here comes Alec Bohm. He just knocks him in.
Well, since I left on the 13th of August, Bohm had 1 hit, 5 hits, 2 hits, 1 hit, 2 hits, no hits, 3 hits, 2 hits. I mean, he had multiple hits in a game, in every game but 3. 2, 3, 2, 2, 5. I mean, if you get this level of Bohm, his batting average when I left on the 13th was 230. So I said 222. I'm sorry, it was 230. It went up at this stage of the season, guys, from 238 to 248. It went up 18 points in August. It's unbelievable.
By the way,
it's unbelievable.
I got a text on the text board I got to read for you at 609-403-0973. Texter says, Mike, I was at the game yesterday. Okay. Half the people left the stadium at the end of the 8th.
Bad job.
He says, my wife wanted to leave. I said no. We stayed the whole game. The people that stayed went crazy when they won. 2 outs at the bottom of the 9th. What a win. What a game. It was so cool. All those people missed a special moment, but I didn't, says the texter.
A mass exodus, he wrote. Wow. Yeah, keep your text messages coming, 609-403-0973. John from Avalon. He says, I think your poll question of the day should be how many people gave up and turned the Phillies off when they were down 4-0. Only speaking for myself, I was one of those people who turned it off and said this is going to be a loss, only to find out this morning they won in dramatic fashion. John, how do you turn that game off and then wait till the morning to find out that they won? What happened between 4 o'clock yesterday and the morning that you didn't realize that they won that game yesterday? Now, my buddy said this game's over, and I didn't, fight him on it. I just was like, they've been playing well, whatever. And we ended up staying to watch the comeback. I wasn't at the game yesterday. I was doing a little brewery tour yesterday, Josh. You would have enjoyed it. Yeah.
I was at the beach yesterday.
You know where I was? Our old producer, Danny Ryan. You remember him?
Yes.
Yes. I went to his spot.
Oh, nice.
He wasn't working, though. They said I just missed him.
Oh, darn it.
I did text him, though. I said, yo, where are you? He's like, what are you doing in these parts?
Yeah, I was at the beach with my buddies, and we had a small TV with the game on. Somebody else had the radio on. And when it was 4-0 in the 9th inning, we were kind of passively paying attention. But then guys started to get on base, and we stopped playing cornhole. We all started gathering around. And we all started losing our minds when Sosa got that base hit, and then.
By the way, 3 times they came up down to their last strike.
Insane.
3 straight at-bats. Terry checks in, says, I'm not giving up on them because I truly believe that they get in, they can go on a run. It may not be likely, but it's possible. Good starting pitching and some bats, they can get red hot at times. Well, Terry, you just nailed it. I mean, if the Phillies get into the playoffs and get hot at the right time, of course they're good enough. The league doesn't have a lot of top-end teams. You really have the Dodgers, you've got the Brewers, you got the Braves, you got the Cubs, you got the Phillies. Those 5 teams, all of them. American League, the playoff teams on that side are not very good.
No. And you could argue that whatever team comes out of the American League is going to be a much lesser team than pretty much almost every National League team, top to bottom.
Well, in the last 10 days that the Phillies have been on this run, it's got to be a lot of Alec Boehm. It's got to be the 2 starts. I mean, go back to the Nola start the other night. What did he throw? 7 innings, 1 run?
He was great. This is now 8 of his last 9 starts, Mike. We talked about this on Phillies Fastball last week. 8 of his last 9 starts, he's giving you quality outings. This is a guy that he is now showing not just once, twice, but 8 and 9 starts that he's giving you something quality that you can work with. You can win games now when Aaron Nola's on the mound.
Yeah, I when you asked me that question the other day, I'm kind of like hesitant, but I'm looking 7 innings, 1 run, 5 innings, 1 run, 5 innings, 2 runs, 6 innings, 2 runs, 3 runs, excuse me. So in the month of August, he has 4 starts. The Phillies are 3-1 in those starts. He has got into the 5th in every single game. Now, I don't know. Do we trust him? Because the games in July, they lost every start that he had. They lost every single one of his starts.
But see, that's not fair because he pitched well in most of those starts.
Well, the game against that he lost against the Marlins, he got into the 6th with 1 run. The game against the Dodgers, he threw 5 innings. He gave up 5 runs.
Yeah, that was a rough
game,
one.
It was a quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs, but he gave up 3 home runs. But August, he's been completely different. I mean, just a completely different pitcher. He had 8 strikeouts in the game against the Marlins, 9 strikeouts in the game against the Twins, 8 strikeouts in the game against Toronto. So it's been an absolutely different pitcher. There's no question about it. So a lot there, a lot to get into. Got a busy day. Bob Wankel at 3. We've got Eagles thoughts, too. I did watch the Eagle game Saturday night on my drive home.
There you
go.
I
flipped from the Phillies game over to the Eagle game, and then when I got home, the second half of the Eagle game was still on TV. So definitely got some Eagles thoughts as well. We'll do a lot of Eagles right now. 403-0973, 609-403-0973. I see more of your text messages coming in. Also, McGarry's on the way. Bob Wankel at 3. Mosher for football at 4 today. Fastball tonight at 5:30 as the Phillies get ready to take on the Marlins. We have all that and more coming up on the Sports Fast Live on 97.3. We are back at Fanatic Sportsbook, as always, on a Monday for the football season. And we'll look at that Eagles game coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. Sean Mannion met with the media. You'll hear what he thinks about the Eagle offense through 2 games. That's at 3:30 today. More Sports Bash coming up on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And it just keeps getting better.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
229 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, we are live at the Fanatics Sportsbook. We're back here every Monday for the Eagles football season. And, of course, the Eagles have their preseason finale this Friday night. You can listen on 97.3 ESPN. They take on the Cincinnati Bengals, and that will be the last preseason tune-up before the regular season opener against the Washington Commanders. And you can listen to that right here on 97.3 ESPN. Your home for Eagles football. But the Phillies, boy, Mike, when I was gone, it looked like it was a dire situation. 9 games out. They were even out of the wild card. 10 days later, I return, and they've given us another jolt. 9-game win streak capped off yesterday with a walk-off home run. Over the last 10 days, Mike, what has kind of clicked and changed from this Phillies crew?
Well, I think it's the offense, right? And it's everybody in the batting order, except for Trey Turner, it seems, has just gotten hot. They're having better at-bats. And, the resiliency that they've shown in the past has once again, they've shown it once again. Yesterday's win was one of the best regular season wins I've seen the Phillies have at Citizens Bank Park. So I just think overall, it's just the offense. It's we talked all season about guys getting to the back of the baseball cards, guys not being as bad as they were in April, May, June, and July. And, we're seeing that now. In August, they've been a completely different team offensively.
Yeah, let's start with one guy. I mean, I think the last time you and I spoke, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City is with me. We were talking about, listen, if you're going to move Bohm to the 8-hole, just move him out of the lineup and put Harper back at first base, use Hill and De La Cruz in right field. And Bohm basically said, everybody, stick it. I mean, the guy's had multiple hit games, 5 hit games, home runs. He's up to 248, Mike. When I left, he was hitting 230.
Yeah, and not only that, I think he's either, he's right behind Kyle Schwarber for the team lead in RBIs, too. And he's a guy, and Mike, it's just amazing how baseball works sometimes. He said, the other day, he said, of course, I would have loved to have hit like this in April and May, but baseball is the crazy game. And he's a guy who went into the batting cage in St. Louis, a struggling hitter, a guy that people were correctly arguing should be benched. And he walked out of the batting cage, one of the most hottest hitters in all of baseball. And, we asked him what happened during that hitting session. He says, I don't know. I just kind of got in a rhythm and started feeling good. So it's amazing how these things click. It just seems to, come out of thin air sometimes. And it has for Alec Bowman. He's case in point, right? I mean, he was a negative WAR player. He wasn't going to be that bad. I don't know if he's this good as he's been the last couple of weeks, but he wasn't as bad as he was going to be in April, May, and June. And I think what you're seeing here is kind of, again, guys starting to level off and kind of put up the numbers that they're used to putting up over a course of a 162-game season. They're just not getting there in a consistent way.
Well, Mike, I mean, how do you raise your batting average 18 points at this stage of the season? I mean, that tells you how hot he was, that he is right now. 18 points he's gone up. But one of the big questions has been Luis Ariz and the impact that he has had, not only on the offense from what he brings, but it appears that the impact that he's had on others is now starting to come through.
Yeah, I think there's two things, right? There's this so-called, and it's now becoming a famous, this hitting meeting that they had at the end of July where they just looked at the numbers and said, hey, these are the categories we're doing poorly in. We're last in baseball in on-base percentage. How do we go about fixing that with our approach? And the second thing that is sort of coincided with the offense coming alive is, you just pointed out, is the arrival of Luis Ariz. And I think he's had an impact on the team from this perspective, right? He's a guy who doesn't walk, he doesn't strike out, he takes long at bats, he puts the ball in play. I think guys on the Phillies have looked at his approach and said to themselves, how can I take what Luis Ariz does well and incorporate it in my approach when I go to the plate? And I think there's no denying that, watching him hit 4 or 5 times a game has kind of rubbed off on the guys around.
Mike, another story, has been the back end of the rotation and the depth, and it wasn't very good. Aaron Nola in the month of August, his last 4 starts, he has been the Aaron Nola that we watched over the last few years. And Andrew Painter, his start the other day, I mean, you can see why the Phillies did not want to trade him. You start to wonder about those 2 guys and what they have been able to do over the last month of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that gives you another a reason for this win streak, right? That what were they on a stretch where I think the number 5 starter was like 5-22, where they hadn't won a game since May when somebody other than Wheeler, Sanchez, Luzardo, or Nola pitched. And I think what they've done now with the starting rotation, with Nola kind of regaining some of his form and Painter's effort the other night, it's given them some options starting pitching-wise. I mean, you can see if Painter is a guy who misses bats. You get to the postseason, the Andrew Painter that pitched Saturday, he can maybe give you an inning or 2 out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
He can, if you're going to start Aaron Nola in a playoff game, Painter can come in and piggyback there. So I just think it's some options. And the only confounding thing with how they're playing, and I think they're the hottest team in baseball right now, is the offense has gone well. You talk about the back end of the rotation going well. The only question is the 2 guys up front, Sanchez and Wheeler, are not clicking like they did early in the season. So that's the only kind of warning light on the dashboard as the Phillies head west.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. One of the things you wrote about 2 days ago was, can the Phillies catch the Braves? All of a sudden, they're 3 back. I mean, this series coming up now, they got to go out west for 3 straight series before they play the Braves coming up. They got 4 against the Braves this next weekend. They play a lot. I mean, so can they and should they be focused on catching the Braves?
Absolutely. I mean, the Braves are right in their, right in their sights. They're kind of, the runner coming off the pace, and they've got the Braves kind of stumbling right in front of them. Mike, I think this road trip will tell us a lot, right? It's 9 games against some shaky teams. Seattle has talent, but they're not having a good season. The Angels are terrible. And then you're going down to play Arizona. In Arizona, a place that's caused the Phillies some problems in the past, and Arizona kind of hanging around in the wild card race. But these 9 games, you think when they get back from this trip, there'll be about 3 weeks, 20-something games left in the season. I think these 9 games are going to show you what they can do in September. And I think, 7-2 on this trip would be optimum, I think. 6-3, I signed for that today. I think 5-4 is the bare minimum. If they go over 500, then I think those 7 games they have against the Braves are really going to matter in September. But they've got to take care of business on this West Coast trip. Like I said, 7-2 optimum. I'd sign for 6-3, 5-4 bare minimum. Under 500, I think the chips are disappointing and could impact their chances of winning the division.
Well, I guess a lot of this is, too, you got some health right now. You wrote about Bryson Stott leaving the game. You had Bohm didn't play yesterday. Arias didn't play. So they're banged up a little bit, but still finding ways to win. But Stott, the move for him to third, he has played an excellent third base over there. It's now allowed Sosa to kind of go back to his role that he's kind of excelled in. You're now getting that little spark from him. It just seems that things are starting to click at the right time. A lot of people chiming in on the text board. Some seem to be in, some seem to be out. Where should they be?
Well, I think you got to be in. I mean, look, this is a team that won, 95-something games last year. This is a team that has won 2 straight division titles and went toe-to-toe with the Dodgers in the division series last year. So they've shown an ability to play with the top teams in baseball. Do they have flaws? Absolutely. But I don't think there's a team in baseball that doesn't really have flaws. Even the Dodgers have some issues, right? So I think you've got to be in. I mean, if you're not in, you're missing a hell of a ride, because that game yesterday was that 9th inning yesterday. And by the way, that place was packed and a lot of people left early. So and they're probably kicking themselves when they got to the parking lot and heard the roars of the crowd, yeah, I think you got to be in there playing an entertaining brand of baseball. They're fun to watch. They're never out of a game. So I find it hard to believe why you wouldn't be in at this point.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. If you can get the pitching from Nola and Painter from now to the end, that gives you 5 quality guys. The one question, I guess, remains is still that bullpen. And I don't know what you're doing to fix that bullpen or how many guys in that bullpen you start to trust. But getting those 2 guys should limit the bullpen's exposure. They might be the 2 key guys down the stretch here.
Yeah, absolutely. The deeper you can go into games, and you're not at a point where when you had the number 5 starter, when Painter was in the minors and that number 5 starter was struggling, and you were either going to a bullpen game or having a starter only last 3 or 4 innings, that really taxed that bullpen and put that bullpen through the ringer. Now that you've got Nola and Painter going deeper into games, that bullpen can settle into the roles. Look, the bullpen is what the bullpen is. It might be unfair of me to say, but I don't trust Jonathan Bolden in the 8th inning, and I don't trust Brooks Raley in the 8th inning until they do it in October. So we'll see if they can do it. They either can or they can't. It's been a major issue. It was a major issue against the Dodgers, bullpen failures. It was a major issue against the Mets, bullpen failures. It was a major issue in the Arizona Diamondbacks, bullpen issues. Like I'm gonna have to see it before I believe it. But it would help out a lot if your starters could go 6 1/3 or 7 innings and limit the amount of outs you're going to ask that bullpen to get before you get to Johan Duran.
Mike, you wrote about the reaction afterwards. What was that clubhouse like? The way they got their 9th straight win.
Well, they were ecstatic, right? And they're obviously packing up quickly because they're on a flight out to Seattle, basically for the West Coast trip. And one interesting fact, they were all wearing football jerseys. It was amazing to see, kind of interesting to see like what guys are wearing what jerseys in honor of the NFL season coming up and the team's fantasy football draft is coming up. Like Alex McFarland had a Rob Gronkowski jersey. Zach Wheeler was Deion Sanders. Don Mattingly was Deion Sanders. You saw Clay Matthews jersey. I think Kyle Schwarber had Chad Ochocinco. So they were in high spirits yesterday, and why wouldn't you be after you pull out a game like that? And there was a lot of sentiment of we are the Philadelphia Phillies, and this is what we do. So if you're gonna fly 6 hours, boy, what a game to win, and then get on a long flight to go out there on a 9-game winning streak. So they were ecstatic, and look, to me, that was, Mike, I don't know about you, but that was the second best regular season win I remember from the Phillies at Citizens Bank Park. I compare it to a game, I don't know if you remember this game, 2007, they beat the Mets on a Thursday afternoon in August. Chase Utley had the winning hit off Billy Wagner. It was a game Jason Worth stole a couple of bases in the 9th inning. I think they rallied to win the game. It was a high-scoring game, and that win sort of set the tone for the rest of the 2007 season and really the 2007 to 11 era. It'll be interesting to see what impact the win yesterday has on the Phillies the rest of the year, because that was the type of win that if you do something in October, you point back to yesterday and say, hey, that's when we knew we had something special here.
Good pull by you, Mike. By the way, before we get out of here, McFarland, 3 wins here. I want to kind of get your take on his role and or impact in this bullpen. Can he have a key role? Do you look at a guy that can be a key figure in this bullpen?
Yeah, I mean, the other day or a couple of weeks ago, Don Mattingly said, the bullpen kind of finds its own level, right? Guys pitch well, they kind of get moved into higher leverage situations. And obviously nothing's kind of set in stone in that bullpen. It's not, there is no defined 8th inning guy. McFarland is a guy who's been given a chance to pitch here, and he's taking advantage of it. So let's see where he runs with it, over the last month of the season. Yeah. This is a guy who throws 100 miles an hour. His problem in the minor leagues was command. Sometimes he, I think he struck out 13 batters per 9 innings, but he walked 4. And one thing you can't do when you come out of the bullpen at any point, but especially in the postseason, is walk guys. But here's a guy who's been given an opportunity to pitch, and so far is making the most of it. And any guy that can throw triple digits is a guy you got to watch. So he's done well so far. Let's see where he takes this the rest of the season. You never know, where guys are going to fit in. Basically.
Well, they could certainly use another quality bullpen arm, and he has given them a little bit here. Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Don't forget, Mike's back to work this week. High school football is back. They got you working again, man.
Yeah, it's hard to believe this Thursday starts over there at Ocean City. Full slate of games Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's good to have it back. I think this is year 34 for me on the sidelines, Mike. So, which means the guys I first covered when they were 18 in 1993 are now 52. So I don't know how they got old, and I stayed the same age all these years.
Well, I remember you covering me, and I'm going to be 50 in January. So there's even guys older than me out there that you covered. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, and at AC Press McGarry on the Twitter X platform. All right, Mike, we'll talk to you Wednesday, man.
All right, Mike, we'll see you down the road. Thanks.
All right, Exorus Mike, always a part of the show. Football season, the baseball season, and you can check out all his local coverage over at pressofac.com. All right, when we come back, it's the Golic Minute. The Golics are back on 97.3 ESPN. Afternoon, right here on 97.3 ESPN. Today we're at the Fanatic Sportsbook. What did the Golics say today? Listen and find out. That is next here on the Sports Bash.
LeBron James plays here.
Here's James for 3. Got it. LeBron James knocks it down.
97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia 76ers. You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
If it's close, I would go with Shedeur Sanders. See what you have in Shedeur. With the quarterback class coming out next year, see what Shedeur can bring. We know he went in the 5th round. We know he's a better talent than the 5th round. We know it was kind of what went on at the combine that had him drop to the 5th round. You know he's a higher talent than the 5th round. I would have started him. Without question, I would have started him to see what you had.
That was Mike Golic today on the Golic here on 97.3 ESPN, weekdays from 10 to noon. Listen to the Golics. I agree. All right, this whole Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson thing, I wanted to comment on because I'm driving into work today. I'm listening to this conversation, and I'm thinking, how in your right mind are you the Cleveland Browns and you go with Deshaun Watson? You know, the one thing that stood out to me that we don't remember or maybe you forget about, it's the fact that Deshaun Watson hasn't been a relevant quarterback in the NFL in 11 years. You think about a guy who hasn't been good in 11 years. I can understand that they made the trade and then he was out for 1 year and you're hoping that he can come back. He's been hurt. He's got an Achilles. He's a jerk. I mean, he doesn't have the greatest reputation. He then comes out and blasts the fans. Why? Because he stinks and he's blaming them for booing him. This is just a terrible PR situation. The Cleveland Browns are awful. Do something for the organization for the first time ever and give the kid Sanders a shot to say, you know what, we drafted this guy. Let's just go with him. But unfortunately, just like everything else, this is a money-driven situation that Deshaun Watson is making all this money and they feel like they have to play him because of what they're paying him. But for the love of God, does anybody out there think that Deshaun Watson still has the Deshaun Watson capabilities of the guy that we saw in Houston in 2015? When I heard that the last time he had a good game or a good season, was 2015, I couldn't believe how long it's been since Deshaun Watson. It feels like, okay, maybe it was a year ago. I mean, not a year ago. Maybe it was 5 years ago. No, Deshaun Watson hasn't been good in 11 years.
I will say, I think it might be a little bit of an exaggeration to kind of draw it back that far because he had almost 5,000 passing yards and 33 touchdowns in 2020. So I know it's been 15 years, but okay, fair. If you want to say that he has been relevant a long time, it's more than fair. And I agree with what Golic said too. If it's almost even, go with Shedeur. But like you said, this is a money move. I'm sure the ownership and the GM was like, we're paying this guy all this money. It's like Trey Turner. You got to play him.
Well, and by the way, I say 2015. I mean, he was a rookie in 2017. I understand. I'm just, saying it's been a long time since he's been any good. 2017 is the year he was a rookie in Houston. But really, you go back to 2019, I guess, was his last year that he was any good in Houston. You're going back to 2019, if I'm being fair to him. I'm just hyperbole throwing out how long it seemingly has been. But I agree. At what point do the Browns owe it to themselves to find out if they do have their quarterback in Shedeur Sanders? You know how many games he has played in Cleveland? 19. He has played 19 games in Cleveland in 3 seasons. Unbelievable. All right, when we come back, we're going to get back on the Phillies. Bob Wankel, it's a Mike and Bob Monday baseball chat. We'll see what Bob thinks, how the Phillies have turned things around. It's coming up next.
Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
This hour brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. It's a trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, and installation for generations. 609-390-3907, online, broadlees.net. We're live at the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, where you can maybe put a wager on the Phillies all of a sudden. You feeling any better about the Phils after a 9-game win streak? Bob Wankel tweeted on the 8th, thinking this team might not win at all. Has that changed at all? We'll bring Bob back for a Mike and Bob Monday baseball chat here as the Phillies win in walk-off fashion, 9 in a row. Alec Boehm has raised his batting average 18 points in the last 10 days, Bob Wankel. We got Aaron Nola vintage. We've got Andrew Painter looking like an ace. I mean, all of a sudden, have they pulled us back in?
Plan the parade. Plan the parade.
Plan the parade. All right. Well, I don't know what has happened. I was gone for the last 10 days. I came back. When I left, they were 9 games out. I come back, they're 3 games out, and all this has happened. What has really transpired in this 9-game win streak that has got them playing some of their best baseball of the season?
Well, I think that the two biggest things are that the rotations rounded out a little bit. I mean, you mentioned Aaron Nola. He's obviously been a little bit more consistent here, and now Andrew Painter's actually given them a chance. And you're not just going through the 5 spots in the rotation saying, oh, we only have 3 opportunities to win, and that's when Sanchez, Wheeler, or Luzardo is going. So that's a big part of it. But obviously the more, the stark difference is that the offense has been more consistent. They're not doing it with a ton of power, but they're doing it, and I'm calling it the death by 1,000 cuts approach. I mean, their on-base percentage flipped from being bottom of baseball through the month of July to now up around the 370 area, where that leads by a comfortable margin this month. So they've changed their approach. Several guys have heated up together. They've been clutch in big spots, and the bullpen's still shaky for sure, but hasn't burned them with leads late here recently, and it's all kind of come together against some not poor competition, but not world beaters either, and they've been able to take advantage of it.
All right, let's look at the bullpen, because you're right. I think the bullpen is the one question here. Even if Painter and Nola revert back to who they've been, you still have the 3 horses at the top, which we can get into in a little bit because they have been struggling a little bit. But map out the bullpen, how you kind of see it between now and the end of the year, and then maybe even into October baseball.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that obviously you feel good about the 9th inning. We don't even really need to get into that. Bolin has been excellent for the most part. I think you feel pretty good about him against both lefties and righties in the 8th inning, and then it becomes a question mark. Now, Orion Kerkering really struggled with his command during the months of June and July. He's been better this month. He's only walked 1 in the month of August, so you feel like maybe is he regaining some of his feel? I still don't feel great about how he feels his position, but is he creating or gaining a little bit more momentum and a little bit more consistency in his feel for the strike zone? That's your other guy. Now, Brooks Raley, I think, is a guy that you feel like gives you good looks against left-handed hitters. But from there, it's really up in the air. Alex McFarland has shown you big-time velocity. His command's not there all the way yet, but are you starting to trust him a little bit? Compared against some of these other guys that they have out there, sure. I think that the part that really kills you in this moment is that after Brooks Raley, you don't really feel great about your left-handed options. Tim Meza, it feels like, pitches 5 times a week, and he's been a godsend for this team. They'd be in a lot of trouble without Tim Meza, but he's not a guy that you would consider to be someone you'd want to turn to get, outs from the left side in leverage situations. And so it all comes back to Jose Alvarado and how he's, he's been terrible all year. And he's really let this team down. He doesn't have a feel for the strike zone. When he's in the strike zone, he gets hit. He's been fat in the zone. So I think that that's really, from now through the end of the regular season, to me, the clear weakness is how the Phillies navigate leverage outs in the 6th and 7th innings before getting to Bolin and Duran.
Yeah, I guess if you're watching, and right before I left, I had asked the question, if Painter reverts to this guy, do you look at him as a guy that can help that bullpen? The guy that pitched Saturday. Are you thinking that he could come in the eighth inning of a game?
Yeah, I think he's the question right now in this whole thing. I don't think that Andrew Painter's a bullpen solution from now through the remainder of the regular season. I think you leave him in the starting rotation. He's finally gaining some traction. I can't see really messing around with his role, at least until the very end of September. But where it gets interesting is if he's going to be a guy that can throw 97 and beat you up in the zone with late run on his fastball, or a guy that can even top out at 99 and that fastball starts to show some of the electricity that it had pre-injury, then yeah, like that plays come October. And can he be a multi-inning solution for this bullpen to kind of wipe away some of that uncertainty that they have in the 6th and 7th innings? You're like, yeah, then it becomes a possibility. And same thing goes with Jesus Luzardo. Like, you look at the Dodgers a year ago, and their bullpen was the weakness, but they took their surplus of starting pitching and they eliminated a lot of the middle inning stuff, and then they were able to get it to their better arms late, and like that's how they did it. The Phillies are not as deep, and they don't have as many options to do it, but like if Andrew Painter is going to be the guy you saw on Saturday night, then I think that becomes a more viable option. And also, like, let's be fair to Andrew Painter here. You can't expect what you saw Saturday night again and again and again. But what was fun about that and what was exciting about that was, yes, the box score was good. Yes, he threw the baseball well. But I think we all felt like, well, you know, maybe he's going to take a step forward, but it just looks like he's a diminished product in terms of the overall upside. That fastball is not there. But when you see it on Saturday, you go, that's the pitch. That's the one that's been missing, and everything else hasn't been that bad. It can play off of it. If he can find that, like, then all of a sudden the ceiling goes back up where you can dream on him a little bit.
Well, and then the question, I guess, becomes, does he help you in your bullpen, or is he the guy that makes the fourth starter? Is that still Nola?
I think right now, like, all things equal. Now, let's say this. I mean, if Andrew Painter goes out and does what he did on Saturday night and he does it 6 more times down the stretch, that's an entirely different conversation. But if you said right now, playoffs begin today, name your fourth starter, I think Aaron Nola's improvement, his experience, all of those different variables would add up to him being the number 4 starter in a playoff series right now. But I think that there's a long way to go and lots of things can happen. And then the other guy in all of this is you obviously go out last week and you sign Nestor Cortez to a major league deal. He will be up here at some point. Is he a guy that can kind of work for middle innings for you? Is he an insurance policy in case of injury? Is he insurance policy in case Andrew Painter kind of goes off the rails? So it's an interesting depth option, and maybe he can help you in some capacity going down the stretch here as well.
All right, so the pitching over the last 10 days has really turned things around. The offense has been so much different. Bohm kind of leading that charge, but I want to get your thoughts on Arise and the approach of this team. Do you notice a change in the hitter's approach over the last 10 days?
Yeah, I mean, look, one thing I will say, I'll preface this by saying they have not faced a lot of elite level starting pitching, and I think that that's important to note. But you certainly see a different approach. It looks like there is a little bit more of a pass the baton mentality. Their slug is way down right now. They're not hitting a ton of home runs, but they're putting up 9, 10, 11, 12 hits per night. And, I mean, you see it even in runs per game. Like, they're 10th in runs per game all of a sudden. 4.57 runs per game is a top 10 offense suddenly. As recently as 3 days ago, they were 16th in baseball. Like, they've jumped into the top third offense. And this has been a largely mediocre and sometimes dreadful offense, but they've been more consistent. It seems like that they are trying to do less. You see a much more relaxed Bryce Harper, a more confident Bryce Harper. Luis Arias hitting behind him. He's taking what's given to him. He's not trying to do too much. And I think that he sort of sets a tone in that way. Like, well, if Bryce is up there, not trying to do too much, he's not up there just trying to get his. I think everybody feeds off of that a little bit. And, I know that there's this much talked about hitters meeting on July 26th, and all of a sudden the light bulb went off, and maybe, but I look at it and I just think that Luis Arias has sort of lengthened this thing out. He's made the lineup more deep. I think a lot of guys are trying to do a little bit less here, and it's had a real positive impact on this team.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what got into Bohm? I mean, the last time I was on the air before I went away, I had said, look, if you're going to move him to the 8th spot in the lineup, just get him out, put Harper back at first base, put Hill and De La Cruz, let them split right field, be a better defensive team. And the guy goes 5 for 5 He's had multi-hit games, I think, in the last 10 days. I think he's had 4 multi. I mean, the guy's been on a burner. His batting average went up 18 points in the month of August. I mean, to get your average up 18 points at this stage of the season is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I've obviously been highly, highly critical of Alec Boehm in our discussions over the past couple seasons, and certainly this year. But, you look at this now in his last 7 games, hitting 500 with over 1,300 OPS. I mean, last 15 games, hitting 407 with a 1160 OPS. Like, he's done a really nice job here over the last 2 weeks. Good for him. He's going into a contract year. It was probably about as bad of a walk year as you could have up until 2-3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's certainly done some good work here to, fortify his numbers. He's hitting 248. His OPS is knocking on the door at 700. I guess, what has happened? I don't know. Maybe he too has relaxed a little bit, or he just reached the brink where it was like, I'm about to get pushed out of this lineup. If I don't go now, I gotta do it. And maybe there's a little bit of that, and credit to him if that's what it's been. And he woke up. I think the thing for me, and I don't want to come on here and be overly skeptical, but we've seen stretches from Alec Boehm before that have gone on for 10 to 14 days where he's hit the ball really well. Earlier this season, he was down around 180, his batting average. He got it up to 220. He popped for a little bit, and then he went away again. Obviously, nobody expects him to hit 400 going down the stretch here, but can you maintain some floor of competency? And that's going to be the big question. Or is it going to be, hey, we go out to Seattle, he cooled off, he's 2 for his next 27, and we're doing the same old thing again? And that's going to be the thing that he has to kind of get over. That's the hump he needs to clear now,
Well, yeah, and there's no doubt, because obviously I couldn't believe when I heard that he led the team in RBI. I was like, you got to be kidding me that at 75 he leads the team in RBI.
There is a skill to driving in runners in scoring position. And his numbers with runners in scoring position aren't that bad. But, look, I mean, you're hitting in the middle of the order against, with high on base guys like Schwarber, Harper in front of you. You're going to get opportunity. Now Arias in front of you. These guys get on base. The more opportunities you get, the more, the more runs you're going to drive in. So some of that is just a product of you really got to work to get me say something nice about Alec Boehm, Mike.
I get it. Well, I hear that a lot. Hey, well, he's always hitting with guys on base, but his batting average with runners in scoring position is 3 whatever. I mean, he's one of the top 5 hitters in Phillies history with runners in scoring position. You don't drive the runs in if you're hitting 215. You
don't. I mean, look, they have a guy in the lineup at the top of the order hitting in the 2 spot right now who, if you were to say, come on here and say something negative about somebody, give me 5 minutes on Trey Turner. I mean, he's been absolutely dreadful in every situation that's mattered this year. Look at those splits. Runners in scoring position with 2 outs, high leverage, late and close. I mean, he's terrible all year. So Alec Boehm is sort of the opposite of that. When, he's made 248 with a 695 OPS, which, by the way, is not very good for a corner infielder, whether it's first or third, but he's made the hits stand up when he's gotten them. And, hey, credit to him for that, I guess.
I certainly, listen, I don't know what you do with him, where you hit him in the lineup, where he kind of fits with this team. But the fact that he is at 378 in the month of August is unbelievable. 420 on base percentage, 527 slug, a 947 OPS. In 20 games.
And he's had a number of big hits here recently. Obviously going back to the game that he had against the Twins on the Saturday night. That was the 5-for-5 game. He had a big hit late against the Twins on Sunday. He had an insurance run that was huge in the first game of the Marlins series. He had a key hit on Friday night. I mean, look, he had a big hit, I thought, on Saturday night. They had 2 men on, 2 outs. It looked like they might get out of that inning unscathed, St. Louis. He comes up, gets a base hit. Next batter in the gap, it's 3-0. I mean, he's had a number of huge hits here over the last, 2 weeks, and especially over the last week.
It has certainly been unbelievable. By the way, in 33 games in the second half of the season, Boehm is at 336 with a 378 on base, a 488 slug, and an 866 OPS. So this has kind of traveled the entire second half of the season for him. And it'll be kind of interesting because they moved him all the way down to 8th. Now he's kind of moved himself back up. It's like they're yo-yoed him all over the place here. But it'll be interesting to see if he can keep this up, because if he does, that gives you a lot more length to the lineup. You got Stott, who's been hitting the ball. And then, you get these guys. It allows, Hill and De La Cruz to kind of have the roles that they have. And you wonder, is the lineup have enough depth to it with this version of Alec Bohm?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's interesting. You mentioned Hill and De La Cruz. Not only have these guys been ultra productive, I know I'm a numbers guy, I'm an analytics guy, and a lot of those people will kind of roll their eyes when you talk about being clutch. But I mean, my goodness, you talk about making your production stand up. It's not that Derek Hill's numbers blow you away, but it just feels like every time they need something from him, whether it's defensively or at the plate, he's in the middle of it. And that's been huge, not just in terms of overall production, but the energy that gives a team. And the same can be said for Brian De La Cruz. He had a huge hit after JT Realmuto failed to come through last Sunday, got that game tied up. Yesterday, he gets the game tied up late. I mean, not only is he hitting well over 300, but it's just a number of big-time hits. And when you have those contributors, and even Edmundo Sosa, who had been so bad for the first 4 months of the season, he's kind of heated up now here too. That really gives a team a jolt from an energy perspective. And so are they deep enough? I don't know. Like, are you going to sit here and say, oh, I like them over the Brewers or I like them over the Dodgers? Probably not. But I mean, you have to balance between like, hey, do I think this team's going to win the World Series? And also appreciate the fact that they're 15 games over 500 and they're probably going to have a puncher's chance if they get to October.
Well, Bob, though, I think you can realistically say the fact that they got themselves back in the division race has reignited the season, because as the wild card playing in that spot against the Cubs, potentially not a great route through the playoffs. But if you can catch the Braves and go that route, that changes things.
Yeah, I mean, when you start looking at possible playoff opponents, it's really hard to diagnose what could happen here. I mean, there's a world where they win the National League East. There's a world where they're the top wild card. I mean, they're only 2 games behind the Cubs now. The Padres continue to be hot. There's a world where the Padres are the top wild card spot. So the matchups they're just totally up in the air here. I think if you could, part of me almost says like, find me a way to get Los Angeles in a short series, like, and take that shot again. There's part of me that's almost like, just give me the Dodgers. Like, let's just see what it is. Let's get it going, rather than trying to avoid the matchups. The Phillies, I really believe this. I truly believe this. It's not about the opponent for the Phillies. It's about the Phillies. I don't think it's ever been more true than it is for this team. If they play the way that they're capable of playing, they're going to be a tough out. But what version of them are you going to get? Are you going to get what you've seen here, lately, what you saw when they first turned to Don Mattingly? Or are you going to get what you saw in April? Get what you saw prior to 10 days ago when everybody absolutely hated this team? What version shows up? And they've got things that you should be excited about, but they also have things, including tonight's starting pitcher, that you have to keep your eye on. Zach Wheeler has not been very good his last 5 times out. Christopher Sanchez has not been, hey, you're not writing it down in stone, 7 innings, 1 earned run. Like, it's been a little bit shakier lately. So,
yeah, and we've been talking a lot about some of the positives that have turned this thing around, but Wheeler has not been great. Sanchez was okay yesterday. I don't think he hasn't been his best over the last month. But you get Wheeler tonight. Do you have concerns about Wheeler?
No. Yes and no. I mean, I think the reality of it is that this is still a pitcher in the back end of his 30s who's coming off of a major injury. He was so good right away that I think we all just kind of said, oh, this is Zach Wheeler. He's got it. Is there a chance that this has caught up to him a little bit? He's going through, whether it's a dead arm thing or it's something that's a little bit lingering from a fatigue issue due to the injury, not having a regular offseason. There's a lot of different possibilities here. He's looked okay early on in starts, but the 5th inning is just giving him a heck of a time the last 3 times out. You'd like to think that he's going to correct it. If I had to trust somebody, I would trust Zach Wheeler to figure it out. But yeah, I mean, obviously you keep an eye on what you're seeing right now. Velocity's down a little bit. It looks like he's pulling a lot of pitches. It just doesn't look like he has the same Zach Wheeler confidence that we're accustomed to seeing. So Seattle is an absolutely dreadful offense. He has a good matchup tonight, and he needs to get it going and get back on track.
All right, Phil's tonight. It's Wheeler looking to bounce back after a couple shaky starts. He's going up against Logan Gilbert, who has not been very good against the Phillies either. So they got a chance. They didn't get the schedule makers didn't do him a big favor here, playing and having to go across the country and then having to play the game tonight against the Mariners. 3 here, 3 in L.A. against the Angels, 3 out in Arizona. So a long West Coast trip before they come back and play 4 against the Braves. We'll see where they are when they get home against the Braves. The Fighting Words podcast, check that out. And, of course, Bob Wankel here for a Mike and Bob Monday baseball chat after the Phillies have won 9 in a row. Kyle Schwarber with a 459-foot bomb to win it yesterday. Good to see you, man.
Talk soon, Mike.
Bob Wankel, everybody, here on the Sports Bash. This hour of the show brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating and plumbing service. Call them at 609-390. Please.net. It's the 3 o'clock hour on the show. And, of course, we are live at the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City on Wednesday's show. We'll be in Ventnor at Ventnor Social. Stop out and see us there. But I want to tell you about my friend Rocco over at Key Acura of Atlantic City. Consistency matters, and that's what's been going on with this Phillies win streak. Consistent play, consistent pitching, consistent big hits. And that's exactly what you'll find at Key Acura. My friend Rocco and his team have built a loyal fan base of repeat customers by doing things the right way. Year after year, Acura delivers the kind of performance, precision, and dependability you can count on. And the team at Key Acura backs it up with outstanding customer service. So go see for yourself. Key Acura of Atlantic City, the small but friendly dealer. Tilt Road EHC online, Key Acura of Atlantic City.com. All right, coming up, you'll hear from the Eagles offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion. What does he see from the Eagles offense through 2 preseason games? I know the starters aren't playing, but does he like what he saw last week in New England when they faced the Patriots in those joint practices? You'll hear from the Eagles offensive coordinator. We got that coming up, plus the unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Football at 4 with Geoff Mosher, and Casey Joyner is back. One thought every game. He's going to give us his preseason thoughts on the Eagles. Coming up at 5 o'clock tonight, we'll have Phillies Fastball at 5:30. It's the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN.
We have the Phillies covered.
Swing and a drive, right field, way back, forget it, out of here. Kyle Schwarber hammers one over the right field wall.
Get the best Phillies baseball coverage on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
In a world where summer hunger can strike at any moment, only one chicken can fight it.
Wow! I'm hungry. I want a chicken sub. I want chicken and fries.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The 3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by Broadleaf Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Call 609-390-3907 or visit them online at broadleaf.net. All right, 328 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN Live from the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort. Don't forget, every Monday we are here. We got here today at Ocean. Did you see the new beef jerky in collaboration with Ocean Casino Resort? This is Eagles center Cam Jurgens has a new beef jerky at Ocean Casino. It is blueberry barbecue. We were chawing on that during the break here. And you can get that only at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. It is really good. Now, Tall Vince is working for Pete G today. He gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Is that the number? 8.5 out of 10. So Cam Jurgens has beef jerky. Just had a little during the break there. I like it. It's blueberry barbecue, but had a nice little kick to it. Had a little something in there, a little zip. Check that out. All right, Sports Bash Live. Don't forget, coming up, we've got the football at 4. We're going to get into the Eagles. But before we get Mosher's take on the Birds, you are going to hear from Eagles offensive coordinator Sean Mannion. So real quick, my overall takeaway from the game the other night is I don't want to see the starters play. I'm fine with that. I know every year it's you want to see the starters play. Do you need to see the starters play? I will give you my expository quickly. No, there's no need for the starters to play. Them playing in a game on Friday night or Saturday night, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks before the season starts, isn't helping them at all, okay? Can we put that to rest? The Eagles have been one of the best teams in football. They won a Super Bowl. They've been one of the best teams in September. Every evidence of them not needing to play in the preseason is in the pudding, all right? Now, the only thing different this time around is the fact that they have a new offense and a new offensive coordinator. And I definitely think that is something here. But playing in these preseason games is not going to all of a sudden magically unlock this offense of like, wow, they have one of the best offenses in football. So can we put to rest that they need to play preseason football games with the starters? Now, that being said, what is Sean Mannion seeing? I will tell you two things that I observed from this offense. One, I think the offensive line depth is way better than it was a year ago. I think that is one thing that really stands out to me. Campbell is a bona fide prospect at tackle. Who's the center, Josh, the one that they got from the Rams last year? His name, Lampkin. His name was escaping me. Lampkin possibly could be the backup center on this team to Jurgens. He looks like a guy that has some potential. He's a little smaller, but obviously they liked him when they signed him from the Rams, and that was a whole story there with him being on the injured list, and that was kind of something. They've got some pieces. The backup offensive line depth, I think, is definitely better than it was a year ago. The offensive line, if it's the starting offensive line is better this year, that could be a big factor as well, we know as too. Quick things on the Birds. Mekhi Lemon did practice today. That's good. He has not been out there, hasn't been able to practice. He did admit that his hamstring's the same one that bothered him during the OTAs. I don't like that, but he was back at practice today. Devontae Smith was out there as well. I think that the backup quarterback job is going to be questioned. Is it McKee? Is it Andy Dalton? Can they trade one of those guys? I think those are questions that need to be answered between now and Washington. So let's hear from the Eagles offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion, who spoke earlier today. Let's hear him now on the Sports Bash.
First game in the booth. How did it go, and what are some of the differences you noticed from being on the side?
Yeah, I was glad you was able to experience it. I thought the communication really both game one and game two, being on the field or in the booth was smooth. Great communication with the coaches. There's some differences, but I felt really comfortable with both of them, and still sorting through all that as a staff. But it was a good opportunity in the preseason get to use both options.
What are you going to do on Friday? Have you made a decision?
No, still sorting through that.
As far as backup quarterback, and in the preseason, it's difficult because sometimes you're playing second team, third team. How does that affect the evaluation when the stats may look better for somebody than somebody else?
Yeah, with any position, quarterback or otherwise, it's about the entire body of work. Obviously the preseason games are really useful tool to evaluate. Obviously a game setting, different situations kind of coming up unscripted. But I mean, these guys have been hard at work starting back in April. We've got tons and tons of reps on the practice field as well. Both quarterbacks, really all of our quarterbacks have done, a really nice job in the practice setting, in the game setting. So it's really about the entire body of the work. Certainly the preseason is part of that, but there is a ton of banked reps going all the way back to the spring as well.
With a player like Andy, Sean, there's got to be a point where you want to name that number 2 or decide on that so they can get as much reps as possible as the primary backup. We feel like you guys are at that point.
No, we still got time. We still got a whole, a great week's work here ahead of the Cincinnati game. And then, you got some extra practices before week 1 as well. So, we're going to use every chance we get to work with all of our guys, quarterback or otherwise, and then kind of make a full evaluation from every bit of practice that we have.
The system was new for Tanner. What did you see from him on Saturday, and what was kind of in the playbook there to maybe get a look at what he can do?
Yeah, he did a nice job operating. I thought he got the ball out of his hand fast, found completions. Obviously it was nice. We were really able to lean on the run game early on in the game. And then, you had a couple long drives with some third down conversions. He hit Stone on a through route late. So there was good stuff really from all the different units in the game. We leaned on the run game early, and then later on, got a little bit more pass attempts in there, but he operated well, got the ball out of his hands quickly, and as did Andy. We had led us on a scoring drive, and there was a lot of good stuff from all the guys in the game.
With a player like Andy, who has all this experience in the league, how do you weigh that versus what you can evaluate from what you've seen this summer?
Yeah, obviously that's something that Andy brings to the table. He's a veteran in this league. He's got well over 100 starts. That's unique. But we get a chance to be around him, Tanner, Cole, Jalen every day. And so, that's part of what he brings to the room. But everyone's bringing something to the table. Tanner, Cole, Jalen, obviously, they all bring their own experiences. It is something unique to Andy with having so much experience. But ultimately, it's an evaluation on the field, both in the practice and the games. That's the driving force.
How did John Hurst perform in the joint practices?
I thought he did a good job. I thought the first day, we had a lot of big plays and just a couple turnovers we need to clean up. Obviously, that's always a focus for us. But you could really see the run game come to life. You could see the play passes off of it. We hit a nice pylon route to Elijah. But you could see the explosives in the pass game as well. A couple turnovers. Those are obviously things we always want to address. We talk about the ball relentlessly, but he did a really nice job. For the guys who didn't play in the game, they got a ton of great work in those 2 practices against the Patriots. I was really happy with how Jalen played throughout.
Joel, we've seen Mekhi Lemon look close to returning to a full participant. You expect that this week, and what's the ramp-up plan for him after missing so much time?
Yeah, he's been working his tail off to get back out here. I think we're hopeful he'll be out on the practice field in some capacity here today. And he's been really, really engaged mentally. And I think that's the challenge. Any player that you're injured, you lose those physical reps, but he's done a really nice job. He's been with AMO, Grizz constantly. He's been locked in all the walkthrough settings. Even when he can't get the rep, he's kind of shadowing his position on the field and staying super engaged. And he's been working his way back. I know he's looked good, and hopefully we'll see him out here in a minute.
What stood out to you about the run game?
Yeah, it was execution and play style. I thought, obviously the starting unit wasn't in there, but that second unit, that third unit, they really did a nice job. We controlled the line of scrimmage, I thought, early in the game. That first series, I thought the play style was on display. Those are the 2 things I told them I want to execute, really 3. Execution, fundamentals, and play style. We were a little sloppy in terms of our fundamentals and execution at times in the preseason game. Number 1, I thought it was much improved in game 2, particularly with the offensive line group up front.
Sean, what does that?
How much extra obviously you have to do
Yeah, mentally he's been super engaged. So I don't worry about that one bit with Mekhi. I know the work he's been putting in. Injuries, unfortunately, they happen in football. But he's been a total pro about his approach to rehab, his approach to the mental side of the game. And like I said, the unfortunate nature of football is sometimes you might miss some time, but he's done everything in his power, despite not having those physical reps, to be ready for us to make an impact.
In terms of the pre-snap protection calls, does that fall on Jalen primarily?
It's on both the offensive line unit initially, and then the quarterback has a hand in that as well. It's a little bit dependent on the play, on the protection scheme, in terms of how much is on the quarterback's plate, but both quarterback and offensive line have a hand in that.
So there's not a person who makes the final call.
Well, again, it would be dependent on the protection scheme. We have multiple different protection schemes. Some of them, it would be the quarterback would have the final say. Some of them, it's communication within the offensive line unit. But they've both done a nice job, both units. I mean, there's so much communication on the offensive line that I think goes unseen. Our centers have done a great job. Jalen's done a great job, with some of our pass protection schemes where he does need to make adjustments. He's done a nice job of that as well.
What's the second offensive line group showing you since camp started?
Physicality, just the effort, strain every day. I mean, those guys, you watch that kind of those early snaps in the preseason game, it really stood out on the tape, which is what we want to be out as an offense. And then the commitment to the fundamentals. Coop's done a great job with those guys. Obviously the starting unit, but there's a lot of young, talented players kind of in that second, third unit. They've gotten better every day. It's a testament to their hard work, to the work that Coop's done with his position group. And they continue to make strides. We're really pleased with them.
What stands out about the way Chris Cooper handles some of those developmental offensive line?
Yeah, it's detail. He's a great teacher. It's total focus on the fundamentals. I think he's done an outstanding job for us. You can see him every day after practice with those young guys working on, all the finer points of offensive line play. And he brings a unique perspective, having been a player himself. I think he's able to lend a lot of context to, hey, this is where, this adjustment to your fundamentals is super useful. Like I said, he's done a great job with the whole room, and talking about those young guys, right, that are just coming up. It's really stood out in the preseason game with the work he's put in with those guys.
Sean, where do you think through the entire process, like you were talking about before, Eli Stowers says, where is he in that process? How much is he improved?
He's getting better each day. He's a young player we're really excited about. Tight end, we've spoken about in some of these press conferences, right? There's a lot of different elements of the game that get thrown at you, especially for a rookie tight end. Some of the differences schematically that NFL offenses will ask of you than a college offense. But he's taken to it really well. Again, some of the things may go unseen. They might not show up on the stat sheet, but he's working super hard. He's an exciting young talent. And so he's getting better each day. And at that position in particular, there's so many different things that we're working on. He's doing a nice job, and he'll keep getting better.
Sean, maybe a bigger picture. In terms of your scheme and having built-in answers to blitz and simulated pressures, how do you balance that with being explosive, being able to throw that downfield? What is your philosophy?
Yeah, I think the first thing is being sound with your protection scheme. And then having answers, kind of pressure relief, so to speak, where, hey, if they are bringing guys that we can't account for in the protection scheme, one, have we trained the quarterback properly? And then two, schematically, are there answers within the play? It's a little bit different, week to week, opponent to opponent, in terms of how you handle different teams or different, schematic adjustments. But I think it starts with making sure that we're really sound on our end with our protection rules, our training of the quarterback, to throw hot if need be, or make an adjustment if need be. So I think it's a big area of focus for us as an offense, just to always make sure we're prepared and ready, because when you do protect, when you do operate well, there are opportunities for big plays when teams want to bring pressure.
John, some of the branches of what we expect this offense to look like feature the fullback quite a bit. We haven't seen that yet. Is that something that you might have up your sleeve?
You know what? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to reveal too much, but certainly position versatility, alignment flexibility. Those are things we place a premium on. So it's I guess that apologize for not answering the question, but I don't want to reveal too much. But those are things that are very valuable to us as an offense and that we challenge our guys to do across all our position groups.
If I can test your memory to camp in 2017, what was it like first learning this scheme? And did you know then this is the type of scheme you wanted to kind of, I guess, lean into?
Yeah, it was, like you said, that 2017, off season really that, when they hired, Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur and all those guys. I know it's been well documented, but, Zach Taylor, Greg Olson, a bunch of great coaches. I just felt like I was learning so much, and it was, such an exciting way to match the run and pass. They had such a way about teaching the game where we could feel ourselves challenging a defense, but it felt simple to us. Those are the things that really stood out to me going through that experience. That really resonated with me as a player, and certainly resonated with me as a coach. But yeah, that was a very exciting point in my football life. Just the exposure to that type of teaching, that type of scheme. I know, Matt, obviously a mentor of mine, getting to play for Sean. I learned so much from those people. It's certainly a big part of, molding me into the type of coach I am now.
You mentioned a role for Carson Steele.
He's done a great job. Yeah, I mean, he got limited snaps in the first week. Obviously, he was unfortunate. JJ goes down on the opening kickoff, so he carried a heavy workload late in that game, and he handled it really nicely. Again, there's so many guys across our roster that put the work in every day. Carson was a great example of getting an opportunity for expanded reps in the preseason, and really did a nice job with it. Did a great job with the ball in his hand, run and pass. So yeah, there could certainly be a role for him, and I'm excited to see him go out there and really thrive in the reps he got.
There's Sean Mannion, and one of the things he talked about was the backup quarterback spot, which we talked about as one of the key storylines moving forward here. Andy Dalton, 3 for 10, 44 yards. Tanner McKee, 16 for 22, 173 yards, 2 touchdown passes. They're competing for the backup quarterback spot, and you would have to think that Tanner McKee has moved ahead of Andy Dalton there. The one question will be, what can Howie Roseman do with that spot? Can he trade one of those guys? Is he able to move Tanner McKee? And is he okay with Andy Dalton, or can he move Andy Dalton? And is he okay with Tanner McKee in the backup on this football team? I think there's a lot to get into when we talked to Geoff Mosher, and he talked about the 2s and the 3s of the offensive line and how impressive they were in the game on Saturday night. We'll get into that and more coming up with Geoff Mosher, Football at 4. We're live today at the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. When we come back, it's today's Unsportsmanlike Moment of the Day. But first, I want to tell you about my friends over at Cross County Connection, over at the Branches Outreach. And, we've been telling you a lot about the summertime and down in Cape May County. The Branches Outreach is an opportunity for you to get involved. And they have been looking for an opportunity to get a new outreach van. It's a nonprofit down in Rio Grande. And, we hear all the time about the less fortunate. And the Branches Outreach do things that you don't hear about. They go all around and they collect items and food and deliver it to people, and you can help them out. Go to branchesoutreach.org. They opened in 2007, and they've been doing things for the community since that time, things that you probably aren't aware of. But if you want to help, be a part of it, and donate, go to thebranchesoutreach.org for more information. All right, when we come back, it's today's Unsportsmanlike Moment of the Day. It's coming up next.
The Birds are back. Catch Philadelphia Eagles preseason football as the Eagles get ready for the 2026 season. Hosting the Cincinnati Bengals in the preseason finale. Friday night, pregame coverage starts at 6 with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 7.
Shotgun. He's back. Here comes the rush. They've got him in midfield. It's Ty Robinson. You bet it is.
This is South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN. It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The 3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by Broadleaf Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Call 609-390-3907 or visit them online at broadleaf.net.
It's certainly the kind of thing that they're going to discuss because it does open up a lot of potential doors. Like, do you have to start drafting with this in mind? You're going to take a guy in the 4th round. Do we have to worry about him leaving during training camp or during the offseason after we sign him? Or do we have to worry about him not signing with us if he doesn't like the situation? So those kinds of things are all going to have to get discussed. Obviously, this is fairly far-fetched to imagine, but the NCAA should probably try and get their arms around this. But obviously, we're through the looking glass on that.
That was Dan Graziano this morning on Unsportsmanlike. It's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. And I was listening when he was talking about this, and I'm thinking, can you imagine where college football is going to right now? You can get drafted and now go back into play college football. Like, what are we doing here? At what point is the ridiculousness of college football just turned into a complete farce and a joke? Like, at what point, Josh, do we just say this isn't college football anymore? This is professional football, and that these guys get unlimited amount of eligibility.
To me, I like what Graziano said, that it's like too almost like obvious what needs to happen, which is the NCAA needs to put on their big boy pants, start being adults in the room, but they're just such money obsessed idiots that they have no idea how to fix the problem. They just keep making it worse and worse. And Mike, you mentioned this about 4 years ago. This all started when they basically made it the Wild Wild West for transfers. The moment they made the transferring, it wasn't the NIL, it was the transferring. And now it literally is just, what do you want to do? You want to do this? Who cares? Have fun.
Yeah, I mean, you get the tight end, what's his name, Wright? He gets released by the Browns.
Wright.
Yes, he gets released by the Browns and then decides, you know what, instead of trying to find a real job and moving on or trying to get on with another team, he says, I'm just going to go back to LSU and play. And
it's so bad.
We saw this in basketball. At what point do you just say, listen, you've now cut ties. You have broken the chain. Once you have broken the chain, that's it. You made that decision. But college football is in college sports in general are in just such a bad place. It's a shame. It's a shame what college sports have become, and the evolution of college sports, bigger changes are coming. This isn't the status quo we're holding on to for as long as we possibly can. But I think what you're seeing is the whole sport landscape of college sports is about to get blown up for good. And not for the better, by the way. You know, I was never a proponent or a fan of the NIL or even paying the guys, and everybody kind of fought and argued like they deserve it. I don't know how this helped out the whole situation. I really don't. There was other ways that you could have done it, and it absolutely has killed collegiate sports. All right, when we come back, it's football at 4. Geoff Mosher's on the way. What has he seen through 2 preseason games for the Birds? That's next.
Get your game on at the
home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4. Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
Just hungry to bring back another Lombardi to Philly. It's the fans deserve it. Our team deserves it. Culture begs for it.
Now live, this is Football at 4.
Podcast, it is brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook and Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. That's where we are today. And, of course, you can check us out every Monday here at the Fanatic Sportsbook. Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, and, of course, PhillyVoice.com. All football season long, we get ready for the Birds. And, of course, they play Saturday night against the Patriots, and kind of a tough performance to even break down because obviously no starters are in that game. We did hear from Sean Mannion earlier today, and it seems, Geoff, the main storyline moving forward after two games is the backup quarterback spot, and I guess we'll start with that. Is this something here? Can they trade one of these guys? How do you kind of look at what we've seen through two games with Andy Dalton and Tanner McKee?
Mike, you know from me coming on and talking to you since the offseason, early in the offseason, I never understood how they plan to make it work with four quarterbacks. Once they drafted Cole Payton and had four, to me, it just didn't make sense. You don't want to, for many reasons. We talked about snaps in practice, about having – a plan to be able to optimize your 53-man roster and keeping floor when you're only going to play one and maybe two, only if your one gets hurt. It's just a really difficult proposition. So I don't claim to have the answer. I claim to be confused. I know that Howie Roseman, we've talked about this on Inside the Bird. Adam has brought it up. Howie Roseman's always liked Andy Dalton. I don't know how much he's liking him right now. McKee had a slow start. In general, I felt watching him Saturday night that he looked more comfortable. Still not perfect. I mean, we've seen like this guy look like an absolute stud, and to the point where you're like, hey, this guy could be like a starter in the NFL, and maybe he still could. Not everything was perfect, but I mean, he was certainly in a much better rhythm and operating the new offense the way it should be operated on Saturday. And obviously, I won't make too much of it, but today, he was the first quarterback up at camp practice with the second.
Well, let me ask you, what I mean, obviously, we're talking about the backup quarterback, and you're hoping it doesn't come to any factor, but what are the Eagles looking for from their backup quarterback? The veteran presence in Andy Dalton, or maybe a guy who, if for whatever reason Jalen Hurts got hurt, the better player?
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles have always valued, the position, but they've always valued a veteran backup. I mean, Kenny Pickett for a little while. Before that, it was somebody whose name's Nick Foles was there. I mean, they've always had a veteran backup, a Joe Flacco, but then they've also been a big proponent of drafting young quarterbacks as many, as often as possible to develop them. We've seen that with Thorson. We've seen that with Hurts. We've seen that with Cole Payton now. We saw it last year with Kyle McCord. So it's great philosophy. It's just rare that you see it, and then you have four guys on the 53. So what are they looking for? Honestly, they don't have a template, right? Because we've discussed how often they've had a quarterback like Jalen Hurts who can run and give you all sorts of rushing production. They have a quarterback like Tanner McKee who's not ever going to run and give you rushing production. They just like the position and like to have as much talent at it as possible. And yes, they do prefer to have someone who, if your starter goes down, has been through some wars there, and Dalton certainly has, Flacco has, Pickett had at least been a starter for the Steelers in a very tough division for a while. So it felt like they were trying to get the best of both worlds there with McKee and Dalton, but then they drafted Cole Payton, and then it all just, to me, didn't make sense in terms of a long-term plan. I'm sure they have one. I'm just saying, like, I'm from the outside looking in, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, at this point, Geoff, do you think that Howie Roseman is seeing if either one of the quarterbacks have any value on the trade market?
I'm sure he is. And then I'm sure people are calling him, asking about it. The question you have to ask yourself is, what is the market now for Dalton, who is 38. Has not put great film this preseason on. He was okay last year when he had to play with the Panthers. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do think that there probably is. I wouldn't say no market. Every team always likes to have a good veteran backup. And we'll have to see if somebody wants to take Andy Dalton off the Eagles' hands or kind of dare them to keep 4 QBs and see what kind of roster, maneuvering the Eagles will do.
Geoff, at running back, you're looking at the backup quarterback. What about the running back situation? Carson Steele obviously had a night on Saturday. You've got Shipley back there. Is the backup running back even a conversation or something that the Eagles are even considering right now?
Here's the conversation, and it's funny because the beat writers, we all kind of discuss things just amongst ourselves. There are some, Jimmy Kempski, my colleague at Philly Voice, he really thinks that Carson Steele is playing himself onto the 53. And I think it's a fair argument, if you believe that the Eagles like to keep running backs, and they've kept 4 quite a bit. But the argument is also that when they do that, that guy tends to collect dust, right? Whether it's A.J. Dillon, whether it's Rashad Penny, it's been other guys in the past who just basically sit there and don't play. Trey Sermon for a while, right? They just don't play. And Saquon's your workhorse. Bigsby, we're all talking about maybe seeing an expanded role, and Shipley's had a really good camp. And if you're going to get somebody on the field to give you a little juice in the passing game, that's not Saquon. Shipley looks like he's pretty good there. So my argument would be there's no reason to keep Carson Steele unless you've got some kind of fullback idea in mind. Interestingly, today at practice, they threw Dallas Goedert in a fullback role on a snap. That was interesting. But even if they keep him, what's he going to do? I mean, how much time? Why would you expend when you break it down this way, right? You're looking at maybe having to keep. We just talked about 4 quarterbacks, right? At least 3. If you're looking at maybe having to keep these 2 kids that they brought onto the team from Africa, right? Joshua Waru and Uar Bernard, knowing that they're not going to play, but you're going to have to occupy 2 spots in your 53. How do you also keep a 4th running back, knowing you need to keep a lot of offensive linemen and defensive linemen? You're going to have to keep a couple of different safeties and corners. The math at some point just doesn't add up if you're just keeping all these guys.
Yeah, and that's something that's going to come up as we have further conversations based on 2 games. You look at wide receiver, you got good news today that Lemon was finally able to practice, so that's something there. Obviously, you have, Quez Watkins has 53 snaps, Torrey 45. You've got Covey here, you've got Cooper here. When you look at the wide receivers, have these 2 games done anything to clear that position up?
Not really. Now, the interesting thing today is Lemon's practicing for the first time in a while, right? Weeks.
Yep.
Full practice. He looked like a guy that the coaches were trying to make up 3 weeks of time in one session. I mean, the amount of motion, pre-snap motion, and him running, he must have ran 10 times more yards horizontally than vertically today. I mean, he motion left across the line of scrimmage, motion right across the line, left, then right, then left. I mean, but his conditioning is probably going to be pretty good after today, because which is good to see, by the way. That's supposed to be a big part of this offense Sean Mannion's bringing, that we've seen it at times in practice, but not as heavy as today, where you have that pre-snap motion, that bootleg play action off of it, which gets you some nice, easy, theoretically easy pitch and catch situations. You saw a little bit of that Saturday against the Patriots. So has it changed? No, because I think, your 1 and 2 are cemented. They're Devontae Smith and Dontavian Wicks. Your slot receiver is Mekhi Lemon. He lined up a lot there today because, he still has 2 weeks. That's the benefit of the late start. I mean, he'll be ready as long as he doesn't suffer another injury. He'll be ready. The question is just how much will he be ready for? How much 11 personnel will they play? Will they play more 12? But the pecking order will be those 3 guys, Wicks, Lemon, and Smith as the number 1. And we'll see if Hollywood Brown gets folded in there and Darius Cooper too.
Yeah, so wide receiver, obviously, it would be nice to see Lemon. I don't know. I don't think he's going to play in the last game here, but it will be nice to see him get consistent practice reps so that he can have a roll by week 1. Is that something that's possible, you think?
Is it possible? Yes. I mean, think about how much they have now between now and week 1, right? You've got tomorrow night's open practice at the link. You've got Wednesday, another practice. So that'll be 3 practices. He was limited, quote unquote, against the Patriots, which means he was on the field. He didn't do any of that teamwork, but he was running. So, I mean, he's getting involved. And then after the Bengals game, they'll resume next week. They'll have a week. They'll have about 2 weeks worth of practices there before they actually have to play in a game. So if you consider this week, those 2 weeks, and plus the fact that we did a little bit of stuff last week, that's going to be almost a month of work before the opener. So again, my thing is it's about usage, not availability. The availability should be there as long as he's healthy. The usage would be a question about knowing the offense and everything. So
all right, so we looked at the running backs and the wide receivers. At tight end here, you take a look at that position in Sean Mannion's offense, and you take a look at what they've done so far. Eli Stowers has not had a big impact. I think Dalton that kind of overthrew him in the game, but how is that position kind of matriculating after 2 games?
Yeah, I have to. If you were to ask me, like, what position do I think Howie Roseman's most likely to make a move at to really make sure he has what they need, it would be tight end. Maybe I know safety was the hot position to talk about for that going into camp. I'm not as concerned about safety with DeJean, with Michael Carter the Jr. playing all right, Epps being there. I think they're okay, not great, but they're okay. Tight end, I think that they're going to have some real struggles, Mike, trying to do things operationally, whether when you're in 12 personnel, if they want to try 13 personnel, if you want to go jumbo at times. I think they're going to have some difficulty there, because if you're playing multiple tight ends, you've got to be able to not tell the defense what you're doing. But, if you have Munt and Goddard on the field, you're probably running. And if you're passing, you're really limiting yourself to just 4 outlets, because Munt is not much of a pass catcher, right? But if you take Munt off and put Stowers on, if he's ready, if not, if it's Calcaterra or Cam Latu is a guy that I'm not sure is going to make the 53 now. I just don't see how they can do everything they want to do with this current set of tight ends without being fully transparent.
I thought one of the storylines of the night was the depth of the offensive line kind of showed, Geoff. You take a look at the battles that are emerging there. I thought the big takeaway was the fact that the second and third units looked like they were capable.
Yeah, Adam and I talked about that on the pod that dropped this morning, Inside the Birds. And if there's one, we always caution, and we do it with you as well, like to your listeners, you can't just not a lot you can take out of training camp and extrapolate to how things are going to go in the regular season, right? But if there's one thing that I feel I can plant my flag in, is that their offensive line depth will be improved from last year. When you're talking about your 3 guys off the bench last year were Fred Johnson, Matt Pryor, and Brett Toth, right? This year you're talking about Fred Johnson, Markel Bell, Drew Kendall. And then even past that, guys like Willie Lampkin and Jake Majors, I thought, moved people. I don't know if he'll make the 53, but I like what I've seen. Again, I don't know how any of these guys, other than Fred, would hold up if they had to play like 3 or 4 regular season real games, but I don't think they'd be any worse than or any much of a liability than Toth. Well, and Matt Pryor who had a good camp, by the way, last year. You remember him. He came in that Rams game. He was a turnstile, and then they had to take him out after.
Interestingly enough, Geoff, last year we felt that, man, they added all this depth to the offensive line, getting a guy like Pryor, and they had some of these veteran guys, and you were like, man, the problem was a lot of those veteran players seemingly have hit the end of the road.
Yeah. So, and again, that's why I'm a little cautious about what I've seen, but you're talking about with Kendall, you're talking about second-year player, good bloodlines, put on weight, has ran with the first and second team, moved people in the game, so I don't think we're seeing fool's gold there. I just think we're seeing a pretty good player who's developing in year 2. And listen, I don't have to tell you about Markel Bell. You can see it with your own eyes. I mean, he's gigantic. Do I think if you had to play him right away at right tackle for 3 or 4 games, like let's say Rain Johnson gets hurt week 1 and he has to start, is he going to get exposed in things like pass protection or even playing a little too high in the run game at certain times on the wide zone? Yeah. I mean, it's not ideal, but I remember what it looked like with Matt Pryor out there, and it was not good. So at least you have somebody who's young that you're molding, who's, going to go out there and is enormous and just can fall forward on a guy and give you some space. And of course you have Fred there as well. So I do believe depth will be better. And Mike, then the question becomes, will they be relied upon? And the two guys that I really can't tell you about, because training camp is just training camp, is how Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson are going to look week 1, week 2 going forward.
Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast, phillyvoice.com. And, let's look at the defense. You mentioned Josh Weeru and Uar Bernard. Those two guys, Bernard is or Weeru had the sack the other night. Bernard is starting to, flash a little bit here, and you wonder what they do with some of the edge rushers on this team. You got Ebiketie, Epinesa. They got 15 snaps apiece. So where are they after 2 games at that spot?
Yeah, so Vic Fangio said last week something interesting about Grenard. I mean, we already knew he had said it the week before that Grenard's probably not going to be able to play at camp. So we'll see week 1. So he said, I'm really looking for both Epinesa and AK to really step up. And so that was sort of a signal to me that Vic is already thinking about week 1, not sure about Grenard, and really opening up that rotation from 3 to 4, which we talk about that he's been reluctant to do in the past, and playing 4 edge rushers. So I think that helps Epinesa's chance to make the team now. And then, as you're mentioning, it will be a risk to expose Josh Weeru with all that athleticism, what he showed to waivers. So if you're keeping that guy, then you're probably keeping 6 edges, because Grenard's not going to start the year on PUP unless they think he's 4 weeks away, which nobody has given that indication, right? So that's going to be, again, when we talk about numbers and you're trying to see how many people are going to make it at certain positions, if they're keeping 6 edges, at least for until they're ready to go for, like Grenard's really ready to play as many snaps, and then they can maybe cut loose somebody. But for now, they may have to keep 6 edges, and Vic might play 4. So that's sort of an interesting roster discussion there. And the same thing with Bernard, right? Bernard, you asked about too. You saw Ty Robinson come on. Byron Young didn't even play because he's already the 4th tackle. So now we're talking about 6 DTs that are probably going to be on the 53.
Right. I was going to, Bernard would be more of an interior guy. Weeru would be more of an outside guy. But Robinson, who was an all-pro the other night. I don't know how much that matters for him, but he was a 4th-round pick, and you wonder where now that puts him in the pecking order.
I mean, there's no pecking order. There's just making the 53, right? It's developed. I mean, Vic has said it, and it's pretty obvious. I mean, these guys are years away from being years away, right? I mean, what did Jordan Mailata took 2 to 3 years before he was on the field, and he had to overcome some back injuries too. Remember, I've talked about this. These guys are taking a punishment on their body that they have never absorbed in their entire life. They didn't have Pop Warner. They didn't have, high school ball. They didn't have college ball to get their body used to what they're going through now. So you have to hope these guys continue to stay healthy, unless, of course, there's the phantom IR stash that you always have to wonder if that comes into play. But they're not guys I believe at this moment that we're going to talk about as anything other than making the 53, because they are Mailata-like developmental projects who will not see the field at all in year 1.
Does Robinson have any shot to do anything?
Yeah, to make the team. Yeah, and then I get the spirit of the question. It's going to be very difficult to find snaps for him when you've got 4 guys already ahead of 5, really, right? You've got Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Moro Ojomo, and Byron Young ahead of him. But where he's different from Byron Young, who can play multiple spots and is good power player. I mean, Robinson, you can see, has some pass rush. He's got a great club move. I mean, I can't call it great. It's a very effective club move, and that's really helped him have a very good camp in preseason. And there might be some opportunities for Vic to throw him in there in a 4-man rush in a game where a lot of guys have to play a lot of snaps. Like you're playing the Rams and Bears, right? Week 3 and week 4, those are really good offenses. They're probably going to be on the field quite a bit, those offenses, because they just know how to move the ball in general. And so there'll be a lot of reps for the defense, and maybe there's some time to get Robinson on the field to show that move and that development, but it's not going to be a whole lot.
Yeah, that's the hard part. It's much like the linebacker position. You see Jeremiah Trotter, sacks all over the place when he's played in regular season games. He's been active. You just don't know, other than an injury, how he gets onto the field. Did anybody else stand out at linebacker?
At linebacker, man, poor Jeremiah Trotter Jr. If he were born 5 years earlier and came to the Eagles around 2018, 19, he would have been like their best linebacker, just like T.J. Edwards. He would have been their best linebacker by like 10 miles, right? And now he's in the rare era where you're a really good, instinctual, smart, fundamentally sound inside linebacker, and you can't somehow get into the starting lineup for the Eagles. Who would have thought that, right? But that's the situation. A first-round pick's ahead of him. An all-pro is ahead of him. Can Vic find ways? This is something Adam and I have talked about. Can you find ways to get Trotter on the field, maybe then swing Bond down on the edges in a certain kind of 6-2 look? No, that wouldn't be right, because then you'd only have 3 people available in your secondary. So I'm just showing you how tough it is right now. You can put Bond on the edge because Vic has done that before, but then you're taking somebody from that front 4 or front 5 off, and those front 4 or front 5 are all pros too, or really good players, right? You're talking about Davis and Carter and Hunt, who's really coming on. Had a great practice today. Yeah. Nolan Smith. So again, there's opportunities, just like with Ty Robinson, to maybe get him on the field for a few snaps just to tinker with some packages. But unless somebody gets hurt, there's just not a pathway.
No, there is not.
It feels like it feels like for Trotter and Robinson, next year, if Ojomo moves on, that would be an opportunity for Robinson to have a good year this year in his limited snaps, and then replace the Ojomo role if possible. And then, I know they did something weird with Bond's contract. If for whatever reason this winds up being, I think this is the last year of his deal, right? Or is this the second year of the 3-year deal? I can't remember.
I think it's the second of 3.
The second, yeah. But for whatever reason, if that third year, if he's not the same guy, or they don't want to pay that money, and he becomes expendable, maybe then Trotter moves in next to Campbell. But that to me is we're talking a year from now already.
Yeah. Well, Campbell is in the greatest, bill of health throughout his career, so you do need depth there. Lastly, you look at the secondary and what has emerged here over the first 2 games. What do we see? How the storylines have emerged through 2 games in the secondary?
Well, I think the biggest story in the secondary, Mike, is despite their acquisitions of 300 corners over the last 2 years, they really don't have a third corner, or a fourth for that matter, but a third. They've always looked for a good backup corner, but Jonathan Jones is 33. He's been out of practice for almost 2 weeks now, or more than 2 weeks. There's no word on if he's coming back soon, and he's also 33, if I didn't mention that already. So who's the top backup if Jonathan Jones isn't ready or doesn't make the team? Then you get into the Keely goes again, and the Mac McWilliams and the Jacorian Bennett's, and Tariq Castro-Fields was having a nice camp, and he's on IR now, so he's out of the picture. And I don't think anybody is real impressed with how Ambry Thomas or Sean Wade played in the fourth quarter of that game Saturday night. So again, your situation is, if you get an injury to Woolen or if you get an injury to Mitchell, do you then have to pull DeJean out of safety, play him at corner, put somebody else at safety, whether it's Epps or Carter, who they believe are good players, but in number 3 roles, not starting roles, right? And then I don't know if they truly believe in Cooper DeJean as an outside corner, or else they wouldn't have gone and paid $12 million for Reek Woolen. They like DeJean more as a nickel/safety for now. When they drafted him, it was one thing. Now it's another. So I think that's the biggest question mark, is how healthy can this secondary stay? Because the depth at some spots is going to be shaky.
By the way, Zach Vaughn has no guaranteed money left after this season.
Yeah. So that just, maybe that's why maybe there's an opportunity, if he's not with the team next year, for Trotter to then slide in next to Campbell. Who knows?
All right, there you go. 2 preseason games down, one more Friday night, and then the 53 will be set as the Eagles get ready for Washington to start the season. Cincinnati on Friday night, and you can listen to all the Eagles action right here on 97.3 ESPN, and you can get more Eagles from the Inside the Birds podcast, which dropped this morning on all podcasting platforms. With that man right there, Geoff Mosher, back for another season of Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash. All right, brother, we'll talk to you.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Talk to you Wednesday.
All right, Geoff Mosher, everybody. He'll be back Wednesday. Of course, Football at 4 all season. And our Football at 4 division previews finished this week with the NFC. We'll certainly get that down. Andrew DeCecco will be on Thursday. Adams in tomorrow. Jeff back on Wednesday. Another season of Football at 4. Also, another season of One Thought Every Game. Casey Joyner, he's back today on the Sports Bash, and he's going to be breaking down what he has seen from the Eagles. He has Eagles notes from these first 2 games. Is it a bounce-back year for Saquon Barkley? Saquon Barkley, 2,000-yard guy. Can we get him back? Casey Joyner breaks it all down for us tonight at 5 o'clock right here on the Sports Bash Live. He's got a ton of metrics on the Eagles. He's breaking that all down for us tonight at 5 on the Sports Bash. We've got Phillies Fastball tonight at 5:30 as the Phillies go out to Seattle to take on the Mariners. So we'll get back into the Phillies. But when we come back, I was gone for the last 10 days, and I know a lot of stuff happened. We're going to break it all down, some of the things, what I missed last week. That's next. No Nuggets today. Nuggets is traveling today, so no Nuggets today. He'll be back tomorrow. So instead, we have a segment we're going to call What Mike Missed Last Week here on the Sports Bash Live. Don't go away. 97.3 ESPN.
The Birds are back. Catch Philadelphia Eagles preseason football as the Eagles get ready for the 2026 season. Hosting the Cincinnati Bengals in the preseason finale. Friday night. Pre-game coverage starts at 6 with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 7.
Shotgun. He's back. Here comes the rush. They've got him in midfield. Ty Robinson, you bet it is.
This is South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN.
All right, Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Phil's late tonight, 9:30 start. We'll do Phillies Fastball at 5:30. This hour of the show, live at the Fanatics Sportsbook. We are in Atlantic City, as we are all season long for the football season. Fanatics Sportsbook, Ocean Casino Resort. Don't forget to check out the live entertainment. Sebastian Maniscalco, September 17th through the 20th and the 24th through the 27th. Go to OceanAC.com. Well, many of you know I wasn't here the last 10 days. My team was at the World Series. And for those of you who have texted in asking, we finished second in the country. We lost to Hawaii 4-2. It was 1-1 in the seventh. And I already didn't like the Ghost Runner. I like it even less now. Basically, the Ghost Runner, we start extra innings at the Babe Ruth level with the Ghost Runner. And Hawaii bunted the runner over. He ended up coming around to score. They ended up getting 2 more runs after that to make it 4-1. And we had our first 2 runners on base. We had the Ghost Runner on. He came around to score to make it 4-2. We had a couple of shots, and unfortunately, we ended up coming up just short. But it was an amazing ride, amazing run. A lot of the businesses in the area that donated and helped us get there. I mean, it was an amazing 10 days up there. I think the kids and families had a blast. But coming up just short was rough ride home on Saturday. But, you put it into perspective. We lost to a really, really, really good Hawaii team. It's funny. You watch like the Little League World Series, and at our level, 13 years old, these Hawaiian teams are always so good. And you're like, I've never seen a Hawaiian baseball player at any other level other than like 12 and 13.
Shane Victorino.
Yeah, and Benny Agbayani, I guess, is the only other one
sir.
that comes to mind. But it's like, what happens to these kids? They're so good at 12 and 13 years old, and then they
become MMA fighters.
Well, one of my assistant coaches is part Filipino, and he was telling me a lot of the Hawaiian players were Filipino. So very good team. They were a very good team. I had a blast with my team. Our parents were great. Our league was well represented. The stadium was amazing. The town of Jamestown, it's really fun. They do a great job with this event. We had a host family. So when you get there, there's a family that is assigned to your team. They were unbelievable. The town gets so behind this event. Our host family came to every one of our games. Their entire neighborhood came to all of our games. They had T-shirts made up. They had signs made up. They made us dinner. They did my laundry.
Does this make you have a new appreciation now for how much Nick Sirianni loves where he comes from, which is Jamestown, New York?
His brother was at the restaurant we were at the other day where we had breakfast. His brother and dad were in there on, I forget what day it was. We ate breakfast at this place, Lissandro's. So the place next door is the Jamestown Pub. The guy who owns it played for the Eagles, and apparently the Siriannis go in there a lot. So that's where we ate a lot. It's an Eagles bar. They have Eagles memorabilia, but the host family did our laundry every day. It was unbelievable. I mean, she fed our entire team like multiple times.
Wow.
It was just such a cool experience. And the town of Jamestown just embraces this event, much like Williamsport, with the Little League World Series. Jamestown has hosted the 13-year-old World Series. I want to say like 15 to 20 times or something like that. They actually did the first ever 13-year-old Babe Ruth World Series was there. So they've hosted it more than anybody else. But I do see people texting in asking how we did. We finished second in the country behind Hawaii. We were perfect in pool play. We were 4-0. So we ended up the year, I think we were 11-1, and our last game was our only loss.
There you go.
So what I missed while I was gone?
All right, so I want to start with some of the unsportsmanlike and Golic minutes you might have missed, or maybe didn't hear about, or maybe you saw a text board comment in passing, and you're like, what on earth are they talking about? So I wanted to start with, so for most of last week, Evan Cohen and Chris Caney were in, but filling in for Michelle Smallman, who apparently needed an entire week to prepare to throw a first pitch at a Cardinals game, Kimberly A. Martin was in for one of the days, and she has a very, very strange take on Mexican food that basically made both Canty and Evan question her sanity. Here was from Unsportsmanlike last week.
Kimberly A. Martin made this claim that she loves Mexican food, but doesn't like anything with a tortilla or a wrap as part of it.
Oh, so Mexican food, it hinges on having a wrap?
Well,
is that what you're trying to tell me?
I would say
is
that's
that what you're trying to tell me?
Is that not a big part of it? Do I have to do
no
the pointing also?
No,
I don't know if I know
I'm
how to do
just saying, it just, I'm being attacked.
You don't like enchiladas, burritos, fajitas?
Fajitas, first of all.
Do you like tacos?
I love a taco.
Because it's not closed? Is the
It's
closing
not a wrap.
of
I'm
the...
not into the wrap.
What a
I don't
weird
want
thing.
my food wrapped in
What
a
about
cocoon.
quesadillas?
I have had them. I don't love them.
So let me ask you a question.
I love a taco. I crush tacos.
So hard shell tacos or soft shell tacos?
Have I had soft shells? Yes, but I
Oh,
prefer
she
hard.
she doesn't like it closed.
I don't like, because
She doesn't
then,
like it
okay,
closed.
here's the thing. The ends of the burrito.
Oh my
like,
God,
no,
now
no,
Rob's
'cause look,
gonna have a field
no,
day on
because
this.
look, the ends of the burrito, it's like there's too much bread there. It's just take it out.
So, one, my last meal in Jamestown was a taco, by the way.
Hard or soft shell?
I'm a hard shell taco all the way. I don't even understand a soft shell taco. I want nothing to do with it. Waste of my time. Hard shell taco, 100%, all the time, every time. You know, there's some places you go to now, they don't even offer a hard shell taco.
That's true.
That's not a taco. That's a wrap.
Listen,
I'm out.
I'm not disagreeing with you about the hard shell part. I'm all hard shell every time. I love the crunch. I love how it blends.
Absolutely.
You know, but I find her take interesting. She kept saying, I love Mexican food, but I don't like any of the other Mexican foods that come in a wrap.
Yeah, I mean, she said quesadilla. She likes them, but she's not in love with them. Like, who doesn't like a quesadilla? I mean, a quesadilla is a tremendous food.
So does Kimberly
Quesadilla.
Martin
See-
like Mexican food as Evan said, you just like tacos?
No, I like Mexican food. In fact, I'm a big fan of Mexican food in terms of I'll eat pretty much anything you throw my way. I just don't like the soft shell taco. But I don't mind a burrito, but it's not my go-to. Like if I'm going to a place, I'm getting authentic. Like I'm not going burrito. I can get that anywhere.
Sure. You're going to get at home probably.
Yeah, I could do that at home, but you can go to any half-ass Mexican place and get a burrito that's like whatever. You go to a good spot and get the hardcore authentic. I'm not going burrito.
Right. You're going like, fajita, enchilada. You're going something that you can't make on your own. That's the whole point of the
But I
authentic
do
food
agree with her.
experience.
I'm not a big fan of the wrap. Now, I'll get a wrap like, chicken salad wrap,
Sure.
turkey wrap. I'll go wrap in that domain. But I see what she's saying is I don't want to generally put like rice and beans in a wrap or something like authentic Mexican style, which is outstanding. I would rather have the crunch.
Now, she says she doesn't like the bread at the ends.
I understand what she's talking about, where they pack that in there, or it's too much, and they fold it, and it's got all that. She's not wrong about that. I understand what she's saying. I don't know that she portrayed it the way that she wanted to.
She didn't execute the explanation very well.
No, but I'm on board with her.
All right. Sticking with the food conversation, the Golics had a bit of a conversation, Mike, about condiments and preferences. Take a listen.
To me, ranch can only make things better, though. It is never a net negative on any food that would normally pair well with ranch. Obviously, you're not going to put it on chocolate or dessert, but for a ranch tangent food, it is only a plus. It is never a minus.
So I'm one of those, you can have whatever variants of food you want. Like my thought is I don't do it, but I'm not going to begrudge somebody else if they like that. I'm not going to begrudge.
I'm not saying what he likes is wrong. I'm saying what he thinks is bad is wrong. Yeah.
I'm getting to that. He can like honey on the pizza. That's fine. But don't disparage something else that somebody may like. I love ranch on pretty much anything, blue cheese on anything.
All right, Mike, what is your take on ranch? Does it make everything better, or do you think that the goal is to get a little too far?
A little too far, I think. I mean, ranch, I go ranch on my wings. I'm not a blue cheese person. So, of course, I'm in Jamestown, New York, where this is like right outside the home of the wing. I have gone on overload of wings the last week or two, going to different places here. Now, of course, if Nuggets was here today, we had a great trade. The two guys I coach with, both are flats guys.
Ooh.
So we were making trades all over the place. I was saying, I'll take 3 of yours, take 3 of yours, we'll move them over here. But the wings in Jamestown were on another level. Like, we're talking at the table, and I said to the people, am I like a total loser? Because they always bring blue cheese out. And I said, am I a total loser if I'm asking for ranch? And they're like, no. But, blue cheese, for whatever reason, some people think that's a better go with the wing. But I think the ranch is just – I just don't like blue cheese at all. But I don't know what else ranch really goes with. Like, the only thing I use ranch for would be salad dressing and or wing. That's it.
All right. So, for example, one of the conversations they were having on the Golics that morning was ranch on your pizza.
Nah. I mean, I don't think so. Not something I'm really interested in trying.
Now, when you have a salad, what does your dressing go to?
I mean, I when I was younger, I used to always go Russian. I loved Russian dressing. Nobody seems to offer it anymore. It's like I never see it. Like ranch is okay. I'll do ranch. You know what I use ranch a lot for? I will literally eat an entire bag of like carrots with ranch or celery. In Buffalo, they gave you piles of celery sticks, like 10 pieces of celery. And I will take the celery and use the ranch for that. I don't even use the ranch for the wing, really. I use it for the celery.
We got some comments coming in on the text board about this. Josh K. says ranch on a turkey bacon club is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, ranch on a turkey sandwich, you can go that route over mayo. I'm not a big mayo guy. I'm not the pickiest of eaters either, though. Like, if you put mayo on the sandwich, I'm not going to be like, oof, I don't want it. It's not my first choice, but I'm also – the only food that I'm 1,000% out on, I don't like tomato. And if the tomato's been on the sandwich, I don't want the sandwich because I can taste the tomato, like the moisture of it.
Interesting. So you could actually tell if there was a tomato there and someone removed it.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely taste that tomato. Bleh. I don't like tomato.
Jeff at Summers Point says ranch is fine on a salad. That's it.
Listen, if you gave me wings. Now, I'm also not a big sauce guy. Like when I was in Buffalo, I was at the new Buffalo Bills Stadium the other day. We walked outside and just took pictures, and there was a wing place right on the corner there that we went to. And I got the wings, and I'm very light sauce, mild light sauce. I don't want my wings like dripping in sauce. I don't like hot wings. I just want enough sauce to make them not dry, and I don't want it too hot. And I don't generally dip the wing in the the ranch. I don't want blue cheese. I just don't like blue cheese at all.
Jeff at Summers Point likes the blue cheese with the hot wings.
I know some people are blue cheese people. Now, the guy I was with, one of my coaches, he got a wing that was some sort of like garlic parm and blue cheese. Oh, my God. I don't like Parmesan cheese either.
So I hate blue cheese. I hate blue cheese for the same reason that I don't like deviled eggs. There's something about the texture and the scent that I'm out. I can't do it.
The lumpiness.
Don't like it.
Yeah,
don't like
I'm
the
out.
Smell. Don't like the lumpiness. Don't like how it lingers on your mouth.
I don't really dip my wing in the ranch. I don't really do that either.
Sure.
I might put it a little bit. It just doesn't do much for me.
All right, so I got some ESPN on ESPN crime here for you. So Golic Sr. kind of went after his son, Golic Jr., and the next day, Pat Costello from Unsportsmanlike, he took a little umbrage with it, Mike Gill. Here's more from what you missed last week.
I can't believe you guys played beer pong in your mid-30s. My fiance was the commissioner of the Stanford Business School Beer Pong League when she was there. Wow. Busted out an American flag fanny pack that was full of 20 ping pong balls. Never seen anything like it in my life. So old habits die hard, as do leftovers here on this show.
Golic Sr., what's wrong with playing beer pong in your mid-30s? Beer pong is super fun. I don't know what's wrong with this. I don't know why he's got an issue with that one.
So what's the question here?
can you play beer pong in your 30s and older? Or is Golic Sr. right? Pat Costello says it's okay if Golic Jr. wants to play beer pong. Golic Jr.'s, he says his own wife is like the beer pong league commissioner from college.
I think you could dust it out off every once in a while. If you're doing it every weekend, that's probably a problem. I got to, so years ago, I had a team. We were in the regionals, right? And me and my coach were in the hotel room. It's late at night. It's like 11:30, midnight-ish, sometime in that range. We get a knock on the door. We're thinking, oh, God, what happened now? It was the parents of our team saying, hey, we need 2 for Flip Cup.
Oh.
They were in the parking lot at about midnight playing Flip Cup while we were trying to get some sleep for the game the next day. Now, I don't know how old the parents were at this time, but I would have to imagine they were at least in their mid-30s. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? We're playing Flip Cup at midnight in the parking lot? Probably we got our asses beat that year. We weren't
Probably
good.
explains a lot then, yeah.
Yeah, we weren't very good that year.
I feel like Flip Cup does have an age limit on it. To me, beer pong is different because beer pong is one of those games that, if you're over someone's house, they can't really go out, right? And it's later at night, and maybe there's no darts to play or cornhole to play, and someone's like,
I can't. I'm not a chugger.
Yeah, but see, that's why you can play beer pong with just water in the cups. It's fine. You don't have to actually chug the beer the whole time.
I don't think that's what they're referring to there.
Okay, so you think they're all in like Vladimir over here?
Yeah, I mean they wouldn't call it beer pong if it was just with water.
Maybe, I don't know. I didn't ask Golic Jr. all the details.
Well, I would think that the reason they're saying that you're too old for it is because you're chugging beer still, like a college student.
Sure.
Not chugging water. I don't think anybody thinks you're ever too old to chug water.
I would hope not.
Right. So I would imagine
you and I chug water every day.
The inference is that they're chugging beer in their mid-30s and that's the problem.
All right. That's some of what you missed last week, Mike.
Yeah. I had a lot of ranch this past week with the wings, but not with the wing, more with the celery and the carrots.
I love some celery.
Good wings, though, in Buffalo. Very good wings. We had 3 different spots we kept trying to. They also have a sandwich up there called the beef on weck. They have a bun that's a weck bun, and it's with salt on the bun with some sort of pumpernickel seeds or something. I don't know, but it's a good sandwich that they have up there. All right, when we come back, 5 o'clock hour. One thought every game is back this season with Casey Joyner, but he's breaking down the Eagles through 2 preseason games next. Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. It's a Monday. That means football's back. If we're at Ocean, we know Friday the Eagles take on the Bengals in the final preseason tilt. You can listen to the action with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on your home for Eagles football, 97.3 ESPN. Another season of Eagles football is back, and another season of One Thought. Every game is back. Casey Joyner, CaseyJoyner.com has got a lot of things that he has been preparing for this Eagles season. So we're going to do a little preview of what he sees in this Eagles team. And he's going to tell you a little bit more about his run game breakdowns and whether or not this is a bounce-back season for Saquon Barkley. We'll get into that and more of his observations of this Eagles team because they've got a new offense. They've got a new offensive coordinator. And there he is. The football scientist, Casey Joyner, is back for another year of One Thought every game here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And he'll have his One Thought column coming up at CaseyJoyner.com that everybody can check out as well. Casey, welcome back. The football season's back, man.
I am fired up for this. Yeah, it's a fantastic. I got the new site and everything going. It just super fired up for what we're going to have this year. This has been a year I'm really looking forward to.
Right, so let's start with, some of the things that you wrote about Saquon Barkley when you take a look at a bounce-back candidate. This is a guy that was over 2,000 yards, and then last year it was hard to find one game that really he stood out in last year. So you went from a guy that stood out in almost every game to a guy that barely stood out at all last year. Totally new offense. What are some of the things you're looking at from Saquon Barkley and this run game with Sean Mannion in charge now?
The interesting thing about it is that the Eagles last year, I've got this new run block rating system. It's called a plus-minus run block rating system. Basically, it breaks down. They used to break down it into running games blocking into good and bad blocking. Now I've got good, excellent breakaway blocking on the plus side, minus obstruction or obstruction bad and wrecked on the bad side. The key is the plus side for Barkley because the Eagles, good blocking is where where the defense doesn't disrupt the play. Excellent blocking is where no disruption, you give the running back some extra space. Breakaway, no disruption, a lot of extra space. The Eagles were 8th in plus blocking last year, 7th in good blocking, 6th in excellent blocking. This was still a good run blocking team. They're 15th in breakaway, but good in all those places. But Barkley, he didn't do very well at all. Like all the other backs were getting blocking. He was 21st in plus, 19 in good. He was 40th in breakaway blocking. So a lot of why he didn't get what he do as well last year is because he didn't get quite as good a blocking as the team as a whole. But I think that could change under the new offensive line coach.
When you look at, yes, let's take a look at that. New offensive line coach, you just mentioned it. I was going to say, when you look at the Eagles' offense of run game now versus what they were doing, I mean, this is a team that had 2,000-yard rusher. So how much different do you think this run game will look with Sean Mannion versus what we've seen in the past? They've gone through many coordinators over time. Why is Sean Mannion's offense, the run game, going to look different?
I like what they brought in with Chris Cooper for the offensive line coach. He coached the Vikings last year. They ranked 5th in plus blocking rate, but more importantly, 2nd in breakaway blocking rate. Now, some of breakaway block rate comes down to you have receivers who can go block. And I don't know that the Eagles necessarily have that. They got smallest receivers. But the idea that they've got a coach that can get that kind of breakaway blocking, if that works out and they can get, right, like I said, they were 15th and Barkley was 40th. If you can find ways to even raise that number up, and again, this is a coach who just recently did that. Mind you, the backs he was working with in Minnesota, not as good as Barkley. They're good, but they're not anywhere near as good as Barkley. If he can get that sort of thing going, and I think, by the way, he could do something good on outside zone plays too, because Barkley, you gave him good blocking outside zone plays, he got 6.8 yards per carry. Outside zone plays, you should be doing better than that. Minnesota, again, not great backs, good backs. 9.7 yards per carry when they have plus blocking on outside zone plays last year. I think we're going to see a lot more outside zone this year from Barkley. I think you're going to get a lot better blocking too, and that's going to lead to a huge productivity spike.
All right, Chris Cooper, as you talked about, is the new offensive line coach. Jeff Stoutland had been well regarded by many, and when he left, it was for an offensive line coach to get the amount of attention that he got for leaving, you could tell how big of an impact that he made. But all 5 offensive linemen returned. They did not have a great year last year. Is it possible that moving on from Stoutland was in fact the right move?
I think sometimes it's that old Al Davis saying, he said that a head coach has about 10 years before the team starts tuning him out. Probably is more like 11 or 12, but he had a good rule of thumb. 10 years, doesn't matter how good the coach is, the team's going to tune him out to some extent. And if you look at NFL history at coaches, even coaches who coach for 20 and 30 years, they usually have their best success in those first 10 years. It doesn't recur no matter how good the rest of their season or careers were. And I just think that Stoutland, like I said, they had good run blocking numbers, but there were some places where they weren't quite as good. The yards per carry weren't quite as good. And again, teams could shut down Barkley. So if you've got good quality blocking when Barkley's not in there, but not when he's in there, I think that's a lot to it. And I just think that it might have been, I don't want to call it staleness, I don't know what word that you use, but I think that the key is that that they're going to be better with a new coach, just because he's a very talented coach. You get very talented players. But I just think after a time, things get, like I said, you start tuning the coach out and it doesn't work quite as well. So I think this change, and there's another coordinator change, I get it, but I think the offensive line coach change is going to be good just because of what Cooper could bring to this offense.
All right, Casey Joyner, CaseyJoyner.com. You can read more. One Thought Every Game will be back this year. We will do what we've done over the years, which is go through every single game, every single week, and tell you how it impacted the schedule and the standings that week. And obviously, we're looking at the Eagles getting ready for that. We're talking a lot about their new offense. One of the guys in the offense that everybody's worrying about or wondering about will be Jalen Hurts. And Casey, how does he fit into what this style of offense may look like?
They want to do a lot of, they're trying to run a lot of the McVay and, that type of offense, the Shanahan offense. And he's a very good fit for that type of offense. And the thing is are you going to get buy-in from him? Is he, because the whole thing last year was, did he want to go off and do his own thing, or was he trying to, it's almost like he was trying to coordinate and the offensive coordinator is trying to coordinate. And can he and Manning get on that same page and things? Manning's going to put things in that are definitely going to work very well. The thing is you've got the personnel to run that type of offense. And if I look at it and say, okay, well, hey, is that the type of offense that Hurts could succeed in? Yeah, the Hurts can succeed in that type of offense, and you can run very well at offense too. And I'd like to see them run Hurts a little more this year. He had some success last year. I'd like to see him incorporate more, not a lot of more in, but just to add some more in there. Because there are times last year it was like, why isn't Hurts a part of this running game anymore? And you just wonder why. And I think Manning's going to include some of that in there. And the thing is, I don't think they need to make great improvements everywhere. I think the run game improvements, you need to get Barkley into more breakaway carries. You can't finish 40th in breakaway rate again. But if you get to a point where you can get him even to close to what he was the year before, and you can get Hurts involved in the running game, and you can get Hurts to do, a bit more of the passing game. You just do those fine tunings, and I think you're going to make this team a lot better, because it wasn't like it was a bad offense last year. It's just you knew what it could be, and it wasn't at that level.
They lost A.J. Brown, and now it's Devontae Smith who's leading this receiving corps. Mekhi Lemon has not practiced until today, was his first practice. Dontavian Wicks, what do you make of this passing game with the weapons that they have without A.J. Brown?
I worry about the size, honestly. Smith's not that big, and it's not, he's been durable, but he's not a very big guy. And Mekhi Lemon is bigger than Smith, but he's still not a big receiver. Wicks is 201 pounds, I think, 6'1", 201, so he's a good size. So I like that for what they could do. I do worry about the durability, though. Again, are these guys? Can you send 125, 150 targets to any of them? I don't know that you can to Devontae Smith. I think you can get a $120 out of him, and that's about it. And you go look, okay, well, I can only get 120 out of him. Can I get 100 out of Lemon? And when can I get out of Wicks? Where, if I got 500 targets, how am I dividing these targets? So I can't send 150, 170 to Smith. At least I don't think he holds up well. I think he wears down. So they're going to have to. They're going to play call a lot of receivers open this year rather than say we're going to win up on matchups and things. I think when they had Brown, you had that idea that, hey, we can go win a matchup. You can do that some with Smith, but these are all guys you're going to have to play call open, which is why, again, you need Hurts running the offense and saying, hey, we're play calling people open. You're not just going to pick one guy and say, hey, you could beat this guy one-on-one. We're going to do schemes and we're going to do route combinations to get these people open. You need to be running that offense to get them open. But if he'll do it, I trust Manning's ability to get the receivers up because there's talent here. I just don't think there's anybody who's going to be what I would call a workhorse wideout.
We started this conversation, Casey, by looking at Saquon Barkley, the impact he made 2 years ago as opposed to last year. How much was that offensive line related to why this offense struggled so much last year?
As noted, the Eagles could when you're getting breakaway runs, a lot of things with breakaway runs are, can you get the safeties blocked? Can you get safeties blocked? Can you get corners blocked? Can you get the third level blocked? That's a big part of breakaway runs. They didn't do a very good job at last year as a team. They did a terrible job when he was out there and things. And I think part of it is you've got to do play calling and such to say, hey, you can't just say, I hope we get somebody, a receiver, to go down there and block the guy, especially when you got smallest receivers. You got to do things to schematically take those safeties away, not to get the safety in the box. So the safety in the box can be, it's an anomaly to say the safety in the box is going to destroy your running game. It helps, but it's not going to do it. But to get that safety coming down to stop the play, that's a big part of it too. So I think you got to get those safeties blocked, but you got to run a system that's going to make sure that those safeties just aren't in the way in the first place, because that was a big part of what they had in 2024. And that's the thing. That's the thing with Stoutland is I don't think that you can, his team controlled the box pretty well and they controlled the next level. That's kind of out of his realm. So I wonder if they need to do things to help the running game in that sort of situation, because if they can help the running game in that way and keep the third level occupied so it's not thinking about tackling first, I think it's going to be a big plus for Barkley.
Casey Joyner's with us, CaseyJoyner.com. He'll have one thought every game all season long on the show. I can't wait for that. That means football is really back. But a lot of people keep asking me about Dallas Goedert and the tight end's role in Sean Mannion's style of offense. You've seen guys like Tucker Kraft in the past. He got hurt last year. Where do you look at Goddard in this particular offense and how much he could take off?
Good question, because usually, again, the tight end doesn't get utilized a lot, but do you flex him out? That's the thing. I don't think their system doesn't really allow for a lot of inline usage, some inline usage, but doesn't allow for a lot of inline usage. But I look at Goddard. Last year, he was fourth in short. I measure a lot of on-field performance through a fantasy prism because there's a lot of bleed over between the two. He was fourth in short PPR points per game, 8th in stretch vertical PPR points per game, and 6th in overall. So you can utilize him in a lot of different ways. He's not just a tight end. You can just do dink and dunk. I mean, to be really good in stretch vertical, that's passes that are 20 or more yards downfield. If you could excel there, now you've got a guy who can say, look, he can be somebody who most tight ends can't do that. Even they seriously can't. Even some of the big name tight ends aren't very good at that. And Goddard is. If you can utilize him in that sense, say, look, you leave middle of the field open, Goddard's going to go burn you. A lot of tight ends, you don't have to really worry about it that much. You can put a linebacker on him. You can't do that with Goddard. You're going to have to put a safety on him. You're going to have to account for him in a different way. I think Manny will look at that and say, hey, I think this is somebody we're going to use. By the way, the Eagles had the most favorable tight end coverage schedule this year too. So when they're putting safeties on the Goddard, it's going to be a favorable matchup. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if you're looking at that, 500 or so, 525 targets. If you're saying, okay, I'd like to see Goddard get 125 to 140 because of all those situations.
So he could be in line for a big year in this offense here as well. We'll see what this offense looks like. Obviously, Sean Mannion in the control of the offense, which many people are wondering how much different this offense is from what they've been doing. Is it a lot different from what they've been doing?
I think you're going to see some verticality. Again, it's funny because you don't usually think of the McVay Shanahan offense. We're going to get a lot of running out of the quarterback. I think they will add some running in there. I don't think a lot, but I think some. You can't just give up on it. We got a guy like Hurts. You've got to do not just draw plays. You want to do some zone reads, things of that nature. I don't think they'll do a lot of RPOs, but they're going to need to do some things to get him back in the ground game. I think they'll do a lot with that, and I do think they'll get a lot of verticality again because it's going to play call it open. It seemed like last year there were times when they just said, "Hey, I don't." It's like it almost was like. I don't know this for a fact, but I got the sense that Hurts was like, I really don't trust the play calling, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw it to a one-on-one receiver and see if I can go hit the play. You don't want to do that unless you can, but you don't really want to rely on that unless you get just great receivers. And the Eagles did last year, but not to the extent you want to go to it that often. If he'll trust the system, I think Manny's going to be able to play call him for people open. And once he starts having success doing that, like early success is going to be key because if he has early success doing that, he'll keep doing it. And they're play calling people open and he hits them. Then suddenly this Eagles pass game becomes dangerous. And if that's the case, that's part of what keeps those safeties and corners occupied. And suddenly I think we get breakaway runs from Barkley.
All right, CaseyJoyner.com for more on the Eagles offense. Take a look at all the metrics that he's looking at with this team at CaseyJoyner.com. I want to look at Vic Fangio's defense here, which was a really good one last year. Could this defense even be better this year? You wonder with Jonathan Grenard, who's been hurt, hasn't played, might not be ready for the start of the season. But signing Carter, now you have Jordan Davis. Jalix Hunt is back. The linebacking situation, they put Cooper DeJean in at safety. It looks like he's going to play more there. Rick Woolen is now at the one corner where they had problems last year. Do you look at this Eagles defense as possibly one of the better handful in football.
Yeah, I definitely do. And plus, look at their matchups early on. I mean, they got Washington in week 1. They got Tennessee in week 2. They got Carolina in week 6. These are not powerhouse offenses. And 3 of the first 6 are like, Washington's good, but I don't think they're a powerhouse offense. Look at that and go, okay, this defense is going to have some time to, they got tough matchups against Chicago, the Rams, and Jaguars in weeks 3, 4, and 5. But in that first third of the season, they're still going to get 3 fair matchups and say, okay, hey, we've got, we're going to be able to get this defense where we want it to be. I like their matchups. I like what they're going to be able, like pass blocking. By the way, 3 of their first 6 opponents are very favorable from a pass rushing perspective. Like they don't pass block very well, so I think they're going to have favorability there. I think it's going to give them an opportunity to get where they need to be. And these personnel changes, again, switching corner to safety for DeJean, that's going to be something. But if you've got this sort of early schedule to get up to get to that level, I think it's going to be very good. And I like their matchups there. And the matchups, by the way, for the rest of the season there's a next stretch from week 7 through 12 or 7 through 11 that are really favorable as well. So I think they're going to be ready for that late season stretch where they've got a lot of tough matchups and they're going to step up. I think they're going to be up to speed for that time that comes around.
One thought every game, Casey Joyner. Let's get some thoughts on the NFC East. You've got a lot of stuff over at CaseyJoyner.com. Through this offseason, as you prepare for the 2026 season, give us a couple takeaways on some of the things in the NFC East that stick out to you.
Some of the things that stick out are I think Brian Schottenheimer's. I think he's not going to use Javonte Williams so much as a bell cow back. I'm doing an NFC East post on the site tomorrow, too, by the way. Tomorrow morning, I'll have this thing posted up. But Brian Schottenheimer's not going to use Javonte Williams quite as much because Williams is one of the worst backs in the league on a per-play basis. I think you're going to see a lot more probably Malik Davis or Jaden Blue. And Malik Davis looks like he's going to get that lead. They may turn it into a lead alternate setup there. I think the Giants will go they could give him a go platoon with Scotty Blue and Tracy because Scotty Blue had terrible metrics on a per-play basis. Is a guy who can wear a defense down, but you don't want to be giving him 300 carries a year. You've got a guy who has some breakaway ability in Tyrone Tracy. I think they're going to give him more carries than people generally think. And if you look at Washington, man, I don't know. We're going to find out real quick if Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, we're going to find out real quick if he's got something or not because he did good early last year. And then once they started getting some carries, he wore out. He says he's getting in better shape and things, but, man, I have a feeling that's a backfield that could be in flux all year because White can't be a bell cow. If Krosky-Merritt can't be a bell cow, I don't know what they do with that backfield because they're going to be rotating people. That's going to be something the Commanders could be dealing with all season long.
All right. What kind of impact, that's before we get out of here, the Giants are a team that everybody is wondering, are they the team that goes from worst to first because of Harbaugh? Is Harbaugh have that big of an impact? Does that roster have enough to surprise people?
I think they do. Last year, their offensive line, I've talked about their blocking, and this is a Harbaugh team. So this is a team, he wants to run the ball more than anybody else in the league. Last year, they were 13th in plus blocking rate, 9th in good blocking rate, 16th in excellent blocking rate. You can find all these metrics on that article we posted tomorrow at CaseyJoyner.com. But that's good. I think they're capable of being even better. They've returned 4 offensive line starters. They've got a fairly solid run defense matchup this year. I think that's going to be good. The key is Jackson Dart going to get up to speed pretty quickly because reports have been like he's hit or miss and he's not quite getting at things. I think that changes, but if you can get him running the ball and you get Scotty running the ball and he stays healthy, you get Tracy running the ball, you get that Thunder and Lightning backfield, you add him, you add Dart in there. I think that's a team. Yeah, I'm not going to project them for the playoffs and things, but this is going to be a team. You're not going to, like the last few years, have been like, oh, that's the Giants. They're screwing it up again. You're not going to see that with Harbaugh. I think this team, the Eagles are not going to want to see these guys in the schedule if Harbaugh gets this offense where he expects to get it.
All right, Casey Joyner. Tell everybody about CaseyJoyner.com and what you got going on there for this football season.
I got a lot of stuff. Mention that plus minus run block rating system. I'm going to be updating those metrics all throughout the season for CaseyJoyner.com subscribers. We're doing the One Thought Every Game review and preview articles. The preview articles, that's going to be a new home from NFL Picks. So if you like my NFL Picks, that's going to be the place to find them. Going to be doing all those throughout the season. So you can go to CaseyJoyner.com, see my full schedule. You can find out how to get 20% off or more on a CaseyJoyner.com subscription, or you can get a discount on my fantasy football draft guide or my Pay Dirt fantasy football subscription service as well.
All right, so we'll have One Thought every game every Tuesday and Thursday, 5 o'clock, when we will recap every game each week. And then we will preview every game on Thursday, the Thursday night game, and all the weekend games. And then on Tuesdays, we will look back at how all the action impacted the NFL as we've done pretty much since the start of the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. And you can check out now in writing all of his One Thought Every Game thoughts in an expanded form at CaseyJoyner.com. All right, man, I am looking forward to another season of it with you.
Same to you, guys. I'm looking forward to it big time.
Casey Joyner, everybody, here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We are live at the Fanatic Sportsbook, and Casey Joyner is back for another season. That gets me pumped up. The first time talking to Casey, you hear Casey Joyner's voice after he takes a little hiatus after the Super Bowl, and you're like, all right, all is right again. Football's back. How many people out there got that feeling when you heard Casey? Huh? Let me know. 609-403-0973 on the text board. Phillies Fastball is on the way. We'll talk to Oscar and Geoff. Geoff's back for this week's Phillies Fastball. He had a little time off as well. I took time off. Geoff took time off. But Geoff's back. Oscar's back. We got Phillies Fastball back on the other side here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 this hour, brought to you by Cross County Connection. Reminding you that whether you're behind the wheel or on a bike, safety starts with the following law. New Jersey bicyclists riding at night must use a white front light and red rear light visible from 600 feet away. Drivers, remember the safe passing law. Give at least 4 feet when passing people walking or biking, or slow down until it's safe. Share the road, save a life. Message from the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety and Cross County Connection. Learn more at driveless.com. When we return, it is today's Phillies Fastball on the Sports Bash.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
The 5 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by Cross County Connection, providing fare-free transportation across southern New Jersey. For details, call 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com. All right, welcome back. Sports Bash is live at the Fanatic Sportsbook. We got West Coast baseball tonight. No lineup out yet. Don't forget Phillies Fastball and our day game watch party Wednesday will be at Ventnor Social. Ventnor Social brings you Phillies Fastball. Oscar Budish, Jeff Kerr is back. I'm back. The three of us are back. It's been a while. We were all on vacation, taking some time off, but we are back together again, talking Phillies on today's Phillies Fastball with Oscar and Jeff here on the Sports Bash. Brought to you by Ventnor Social. We'll be there live on Wednesday. Boys, it's good to see you.
Hey, it's wonderful to see each other after an incredible month of August. I mean, you left, Mike, and this team completely. You left, and we were talking about bringing a new manager. I mean, who we're going to fire, who were the players that were looking in free agency, and boom.
Jeff, I think the listeners are saying Mike and Jeff need to beat it until they lose.
I agree. I agree with them. Your listeners are very smart.
I was so ready to just say, you know what? Let's just end the show now because they're not losing.
9 in a row. Jeff, you were there through this. What has gone on in these last 10 games that has allowed them to get back into the NL East race?
I mean, really, it's the approach at the plate, right? I mean, look at the 9th inning yesterday. They were down their final strike 9 times. They had an 0-2 count on each of their hits before they got each of their hits. And when you're hitting the ball, you have 5 hits with 2 strikes. That just shows your patience at the plate. And look, everybody on the team has told me the exact same thing. It's just they believe in the guy behind them, right? And I don't think that was the case before they got Luis Arias. I think he stretched the lineup out and he showed these guys, hey, look, you can take pitches. We all can do this. It's crazy because Oscar and I have said it time in and time out. This team is built on home runs and Bryce Harper hitting them and Kyle Schwarber hitting them. And just to go this complete 180 over the last 3 weeks is insane.
Well, Oscar, you take a look at one big thing here. Jeff, you mentioned the lineup depth, but that's because Alec Boehm has been really a big part of that. What he has done in the month of August has been insanity. Guys, he raised his batting average since I've been gone 18 points. We're in August. So he has gone absolutely bananas.
But, Mike, it's not just him. I mean, I agree Alec Boehm has been the hottest hitter in baseball over the last few weeks. But the reality is how this lineup has been a stretch. And it's not the Schwarbers and the Harpers show anymore. And it's the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th hitter. I mean, over that stretch since August 1st, those hitters from 5 to 9, they're hitting an OPS of 807. I mean, you see a Justin Crawford becoming the hitter that we hope he would become, that we saw in AAA last year. You start seeing Mundito Sosa getting a huge hit. You're seeing De La Cruz with another huge hit yesterday. I mean, yesterday it reminded me, to be honest with you, I mean, after covering this team for such a long time, it reminded me like the home run that Harper hit at the NLC Championship Series against the Padres. That's what it reminded me of. I mean, we've had a lot of walk-offs over the last 2 or 3 years, but this was something else. I mean, this was incredible.
Well, what De La Cruz has done since he's been up here, and you got to give Dave Dombrowski a pound on the back too, just for backing him, right? Saying, hey, look, we got a right-handed bat. We got Brian De La Cruz. He's going to platoon. He's going to platoon Brandon Marsh. We're going to get him in the lineup. And they've been doing that. Like Brian De La Cruz, I think he went 4 for 8 over the weekend or something like that. I don't have the final numbers on me, but I mean, he was hitting this weekend, and he's been hitting since he got up here. And I know we talked about in April and May, like, why isn't he up here? Because he wasn't hitting. Maybe it just took him a while to get going, but he's another one taking the bull by the horns, and he's running with it.
Well, Jeff, I mean, last week, Oscar and I, or last time I talked to Oscar, we were both saying, look, get Boehm out of the lineup, move Harper back to first, put De La Cruz and Hill in right field, and get better defense. Well, Boehm has just said, bleep you guys, and is taken off here, but is really added that you can play De La Cruz and Hill in right field, platoon one in left field. I mean, it's given their outfield depth a whole heck. And if those guys can produce just a little bit, it shows you how much difference that can make to this offense.
The story before the ninth inning yesterday, I mean, we can talk about the ninth inning over one, but I thought it was very interesting how they set their lineup, right? You know, giving Bryce a day off or not a day off his feet, right? Or, you know, Alec Boehm was a little beat up from playing first base. Luis Arias was, you know, he has those daily injuries that you just give him a day off and he's fine. But when you look at everything, it was okay. This is a chance to play Derek Hill was hurt, but this is a chance to play Brian De La Cruz. This is a chance to get Kyle Schwarber in the field at first base. We're going to do that a little more. Don Mattingly said, might play him in left field. It was a chance to tinker with something because you can do that when you're on an 8-game winning streak. It just really happened to work out for him.
It's incredible. We have not faced the toughest pitching in baseball. I mean, outside of Alcantara over the last week, I mean, we have not faced some great pitching. We're going to go against Gilbert and Kirby over the next 2 nights. Those are some real good pitchers that we're going to be facing with the Mariners that are desperate to win. I mean, they are within distance of winning after playing so bad the entire year. I mean, Riley has been playing awful. They have a chance to win, and this is going to get very interesting because the teams outside of the Angels that we're playing toward the end of the week, but we're playing Seattle, we're playing Arizona, we're playing Atlanta, Houston. I mean, all those teams need to win, and it's going to be very, very interesting the rest of the next few weeks how this team plays.
Well, one of the big stories, guys, I want to get both your takes on is Andrew Painter. Obviously, Saturday, he looked outstanding. And what has changed from Painter? Geoff, you got to see him down at AAA, and now you've seen him make the start that he made Saturday. It's probably the best start he's ever had at the big league level. What are we seeing from Painter? And do we say this guy has turned the corner, and the last month of the season, he will be a factor?
Yeah, he believed he turned the corner. Even before Saturday's game, he felt there was more life in his fastball. There was more movement in his fastball, and that's what he wanted to get back to down there. What was the problem? And am I rushing the problem because I'm in the big league? So whatever Andrew Painter discovered, and again, they simplified a lot of things for him. Like, he's not throwing 8 pitches anymore. He's throwing like 4 or 5 now. And the fastball, I mean, look, he threw a 100 in the 7th inning. That was Andrew Painter pre-Tommy John surgery. And I think it's a confidence thing. I think it's working with guys like Tank Adamson down in Lehigh and going through all that and trusting the Phillies plan with him. I really got to give Painter a lot of credit for just how he's handled it, because people don't handle demotions well. And Don Mattingly said, this guy, look, he just put on his working boots and worked, essentially. And I asked Mattingly Sunday, is Painter fine? Because he hasn't pitched 7 innings since 2022. Hasn't pitched 103 innings ever. 103 pitches. Yeah, he said he should come out fine, and the initial tests were he's fine. So that's a good sign.
But when we started this show, and even during the trading deadline, we said, do we trade Painter? Do we trade Painter? And we were saying, no way. You cannot trade a talent like this. And look, it's going to pay off at the end. I mean, you can just see this guy continuing to grow. I mean, let's be very clear. How many starts he has so far in baseball? I mean, you got to give this guy some time to be able to develop. He had 20 whiffs on Saturday, 20 whiffs. I mean, and Nola, 19 whiffs the day before. I mean, those are huge numbers. I mean, those are Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez type numbers that you're getting from your 4th and 5th starter.
That's why you're winning.
Yeah, and you're winning on top of it. I mean, it's just he looked the part.
I wanted to follow up, guys.
Saturday.
I wanted to follow up with Nola, because it's now been the entire month of August that he has really 4 starts now in August that he is starting. So I don't know. Am I supposed to buy in to Aaron Nola now?
I mean, 2.74 ERA, 30 strikeouts in 23 innings, only 7 base on balls. I mean, the issue with him is going to be always a home run. He's the starting pitcher with most home runs in all baseball, and he will continue to give those home runs as long as those are solo shot that represent 1 or 2 or maximum 3 runs per outing. I'm fine with them. I mean, I will survive. He's a 4th starter. He's not supposed to be shutting down anybody like Wheeler or you expect Sanchez to do.
You know what, Oscar? That's a good point, right? I think you put out he's the 4th starter. I think people have way too high expectations for some of these guys. And, when you treat him as the 4th starter or the 5th starter, forget about the contracts. They're pitching well. And he's keeping them in games. It's like you said, the home runs are solo. He's not killing them. So that's the same thing with Christopher Sanchez, right? Why does Christopher Sanchez never seem to give up a 3-run home run? Because there's never 2 men on base with Christopher Sanchez pitching. So this is part of it. Like, Christopher Sanchez didn't have his best stuff yesterday. He'll tell you that himself, but he kept them in the game. It kept them in the game enough where they could at least make a run at it.
No question about it. I mean, and by the way, you can make a strong argument that Nola has been the best pitcher in August for this team, better than Sanchez and better than tonight's pitcher.
And Painter's been good.
Like Luzardo has been lights out. I mean, if you look at the numbers, I mean, Luzardo has been really, really good in the month of August.
Well, Luzardo's been their best pitcher right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because Christopher Sanchez has a 2.12 ERA. And in the month of August with a 3-0, and we're saying, well, he's not pitching great. I mean, it's 2.12, guys. Come on, give me a break. And he's
probably going to be runner up in the Cy Young voting.
It's like, I know the expectations are very, very high. I mean, look, we go back. I think this team is going to live or die at the end of the day on two factors. Can we hit in October, and can our bullpen survive, and being able to survive a 7th, an 8th, and a 9th, and potential extra inning games. I mean, this is going to get interesting. I don't think this bullpen is deep enough. This bullpen has Duran and Riley probably as your two most reliable guys. I mean, can McFarland, I think he shows tremendous promise.
I think he can help.
Down the road shows tremendous promise, but we don't know what we're going to get, guys. That's a reality. I mean, the rest of the bullpen outside of those two guys,
I was thinking about this Friday night when they did the up down with Kirkring and the up down with Mesa, like they're playing with fire there. But I'm also thinking to myself, if this is October, Yohan Duran pitches the 8th, right? He comes in with 2 outs in the 8th and gets that out.
I don't know. What about Painter in the playoffs pitching in the 8th?
Yeah. Someone's going to have to go to the bullpen.
I mean, look, Josh asked me that same question last week, and I said, look, let's wait till Painter finishes the year. Let's see where he is at the end of the year, and at that time, you're going to have to make a decision. What do you do? But right now, the fourth starter is going to be Nola. There's no doubt in my mind about that, unless Painter goes absolutely Wheeler type the rest of the way, and then you're going to have to rethink how you.
You know what, Oscar? You can also use that to your advantage too, and actually put him in there and say, you know what, you're the high leverage guy. You're going to break it. Like we talk about the bullpen. You all know who to trust. Maybe that's the guy you trust.
I find that to be very interesting because I think at this point, I still don't think they have a definitive 8th inning guy.
They don't.
And if Painter keeps pitching as well as he's had his last couple starts, now it's only been 2 or 3 starts here. Do they feel like that's the guy they can use?
Gave me a very interesting answer yesterday when I asked him about Kirkring and him getting these more 8th inning roles. And he said, well, it all depends. Like if you have a full pocket, it looked like he admitted it's going to be Bolin, but depending, is it going to be Brooks Raley? Is it going to be, based on the situation, right? And it seems like Kirkring's going to be the 7th inning guy if you have a full pocket.
Look at how interesting this is. Look, Alvarado, 7.50 in the month of August. When you go to McFarland, 169. Sugar, 368. Riley, 386. Kirkring, 4 ERA. Team Mesa, which we always talk about, he's kind of the bank.
He's the guy who fills in for you.
0.93. I mean, 0.93 in 11 outings in the month of August. So it's Bolin is a 2 ERA. So the question is, can you trust them in high leverage situations in October? And none of these guys, none of them outside of Duran, I mean, truly are proven commodities. Alvarado, you could potentially say he's done it before, but he's not pitching well this year. And Tanner Bank is interesting. He started pitching the other day at Citizens Bank Park. To me, him and Nestor Cortez are a couple of wild cards that you have there, a couple of cards that you might throw. What type of Nelson Cortez we're going to get, I don't have the slightest idea.
Oscar, do you think they'll make him a starter, like just kind of to stretch guys out?
I think he's going to be a lone reliever type of a piggyback
that's
type
how
of a
I
guy.
am too. That's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, he won't have enough innings to be able to build himself up. So that's a reality of it.
Well, guys, I left. They were 9 back. I come back. They're 3 back. Is this team
Bring
in
Judge
the NL
back.
East race?
Bring Judge back.
Mike, how was Buffalo, by the way? Did you get to see any minor league baseball in Buffalo?
I did. I went to the game on Tuesday night. Meisner hit a homer in that game.
Wow.
Yeah, Chuck King, I think, pitched that day. Pitched pretty well, actually.
Yeah, he's been pitching well for them. It's
Yep. So it was Tuesday night. Went to that game in Buffalo against the Bison. Yeah, we lucked out the fact that the Iron Pigs happened to be in Buffalo, which was about an hour and 10 minutes from where we were. So we drove up there and watched them play on a Tuesday night. Had some good wings up there while I was in Buffalo.
Is it still Salem Field there, Mike? If they still call it that? It's a nice
Mm-hmm.
stadium for a AAA.
It is a nice stadium. Very nice stadium right there in downtown Buffalo across from where the Sabres play.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll get out on that. Yeah, 3 back of the Braves. I mean, you just mentioned it, guys. The fact that they have to go out west, play tonight after playing yesterday, and have a 3-series road trip out there before they play the Braves. This is going to tell us a lot about that division.
You this, that clubhouse was the most lively I've seen it all year, and they've been pretty lively over the past week, but they were on top of the world Sunday. It's like I thought they were going to miss their flight because they were just like, hey, you know what?
Hey, the flight won't. They can't leave without them. I'm telling you, those are charters. So
Yeah.
look, the interesting part is this was one of the marquee wins of, the year without a doubt.
Yeah.
The big question to me is this team have won 9 straight. Where do they go from here? Can they win 4 or 5 games out in the West Coast and then come back and go in and face the Braves and do what they need to do? Face Arizona and then the Braves.
Yeah,
It's going to be. I think the Arizona one is going to be very telling.
Yeah. If you stayed 3 back or a 5-4 trip, I think that's a good trip, personally.
Well, guys, late night tonight, we'll be watching the Phillies and the Mariners and talking about it on tomorrow's Phillies Fastball with Geoff and Oscar right here on the Sports Bash Live as they take a 9:40 first pitch tonight. Our Phillies Fastball brought to you by Ventnor Social. Oscar, Geoff, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Hey, guys.
Phils.
All right, tomorrow, more Phillies Fastball. Phillies tonight in Seattle against the Mariners. And, of course, Philly Fastball brought to you by Ventnor Social, and we'll be there on Wednesday. You can check out the Sports Bash Live at Ventnor Social, 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor, the place to go to catch every Phillies game on the 20 big screens. We are live at the Fanatic Sportsbook today. You talk about big screens. They got them all over the place in here, and it's a great spot to watch the Eagles this weekend. Friday night, it's the final preseason test against the Bengals, and we'll have it for you on 97.3 ESPN. But when we come back, it's today's Do You Remember? Don't want to miss it. Something happened on this day with the Phillies that I said, man, I can't believe that happened today. You probably will remember it when I tell you. It's coming up next.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN. You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
The 5 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by Cross County Connection, providing fare-free transportation across southern New Jersey. For details, call 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com. All right, do you remember things that happened on this day, August the 24th? Do you remember on this day in 2020, the Sixers fired head coach Brett Brown? They got swept by the Boston Celtics in the bubble and then fired Brett Brown. That's why it happened in August of 2020. Brett Brown fired by the Philadelphia 76ers. Also happening on this day, do you remember in 2013, we had a walk-off, come-from-behind win. How about an 18-inning marathon at Citizens Bank Park? The Phillies and the Diamondbacks played an 18-inning game lasting 7 hours and 6 minutes. The Diamondbacks won 12-7. It's the longest game by time in Phillies franchise history. Do you remember that game there, Josh?
I probably should, but I'm not. It's not ringing a bell.
All right. Now, we saw Alex McFarland get the win. It's his third win in the month of
August.
But do you remember in 1991, Mitch Williams on this day won his 8th game on the mound out of the bullpen? It tied a franchise record for relief wins in a single month. He won 8 games.
They were actually making a joke about this last week on the Phillies telecast about how Mitch Williams had all these wins, and Kruk was like, "Was I even on the team at that point?" And they were like, "Yes, you were." And he's like, I gotta lay off the alcohol, Kruk said.
Well, McFarland has 3 wins. He's got a ways to go to catch Wild Thing, and he doesn't have enough days to get it done. On this day in 1983, Juan Samuel made his major league debut for the Phillies against the San Francisco Giants at the former Candlestick Park. It happened on this day in 1983. And in 1979, the Phillies officially retired the number 1 for Richie Ashburn. It happened on this day. Also, a couple more quickies for you on the national scene here, Josh. On this day in 1989, Pete Rose was banned for life from baseball for gambling. It happened on this day. And on this day in 2025, Cal Raleigh hit 2 homers, number 48 and 49. I don't think he has 49 hits all season long this year. That's what happened on this day. Do you remember here on the Sports Bash? This hour of the show brought to you by Cross County Connection. Thanks to Fanatics Sportsbook, as always. Everybody here at Ocean Casino Resort, my guy Zach and the crew at Ocean do a great job, as always, bringing us everything we need here at Fanatics. We'll be back again on Monday. Don't forget, Wednesday, we are live at Ventnor Social. Tomorrow, back inside the Ocean Casino Resort studios. Have a great night, everybody.